though, because it's waiting for the Daily Gallop for the live stream. So like the page is up, but I don't see us yet.
I did something.
I did something.
You're good.
Welcome back, guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We are doing our best here. It's only our second week doing this. Want to welcome in my special guest, Eddie C. Eddie, how you doing today?
Hey, Spencer, doing good, man. Early card started out pretty good. Hit the daily double, a couple of exactas, and the early pick 4. Hoping the latter end of the card goes the same. How's everything with you?
Everything is good. I had a wonderful time watching my man Marshall, Benny South Street, and also Hunter and Sean Alvarez. Good group, lots of funny stories. My other man, Vinny, back for week number 2. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Bit of a chalky double there, but I'll take it. Mm-hmm. So that was finally gonna start playing the back half of this card that I'm hopefully my opinions are good on, because I thought they would be.
So we're going to quickly start going into race number 9. We'll start with you, Eddie, the number 1 popular kid. Rosario's having a great day so far, coming in great form off the claim for Sparkly.
Yeah, the thing about the 1 right now is my concern is first, his 3 races off the shelf have been on a wet track, slop, but again, Joel is such a good judge of speed, and if he breaks well and gets to the lead, he might be able to steal the race.
Vinny, what are your thoughts on the 1 popular kid?
I like him. I have him as an underneath horse here, but with Joel is just riding unreal at Oaklawn Park this year, so you can definitely elevate him and make him a win contender.
The number 2 always, Vinny, Tyler Bays, for a top 10 trainer, Federico Villafranco, seems to have some solid 80 buyers the last couple times out. Thoughts on the 2?
The 2 actually was another one that I liked underneath. The way the track is playing today, though, I don't know if I want a horse coming from this far back. He generally does come from kind of out of the clouds, so that's why I liked him underneath. And with the way the track's playing today, I think that's all I could use him on. I don't know if there's going to be a big pace meltdown that he can just pass everybody late.
Eddie, we had a horse coming from the back of the pack, as Vinny said. Any positives for the number 2 always, or are you looking to fade this one?
I love the breeding on the 2. On the dam side, he's at a touch gold, which is out of Deputy Minister. I love that breeding line. I don't think there's enough speed in this race for this horse to come from the clouds, so I'm going to use him maybe 2nd, 3rd, and 4th if I play a super, but yeah, I can't see him winning.
The number 3, Fearless Eddie, coming off some slow fraction races, going a mile and an 1/8 the fairgrounds. What do you think about this Todd Pletcher training?
I've watched all 3 of his races today a couple of times. This is one of my top plays of the day. The breeding, again, I got to go back to Deputy Minister. He's at a Ghost Tapper, awesome again, out of Deputy Minister. $725,000 purchase. This horse in his last race was ranked early, had to check a few times, didn't have room, and still came on at the end a little bit. I love this horse. I think they maybe were a little too ambitious in the last race, but in this race, love him, love him, love him.
Vinny, your thoughts?
I'm with Eddie here. He's getting a lot of play right now on the board. I think he opened at 6-5 actually, so we're definitely not alone on him. He had a lot of trouble in that New Orleans handicap. I do think it was a little over ambitious spot, but he was played that day, and he got bumped around hard in the stretch when he was making a move. Yeah, this field is nowhere near as ambitious of a spot. So I think it's going to take a big effort from one of these other horses to beat him. He's my top pick in here.
The number 4, Kelsey Haar, already has a winner under her belt today. Thoughts on the 4, Vinny?
It does have some sneaky races, like 4 and 5 back that could make him a bit competitive in here on the early pace. Definitely seems like one that's just going to have to be sent, and with the way the inside speed has been playing, could hold on for a piece. But I think this one's a little out of its league here today.
Eddie?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, no published work in 25 days. I think if I can see what this horse is getting the weight allowance with the bug, but I can't see this horse. I'm not using it.
Number 5, Sunny Smack. Thoughts, Eddie?
This is a very consistent horse. You know, the track bias with the speed may hurt it, but I could see this horse coming second or third. Again, I don't see it winning, but I think it's someone that you could use underneath in exotics for sure.
Vinny?
I have the same feeling on the 5 as I did the 2. Just this is the way the track's playing today. I don't want a horse on top that is coming from 10 lengths out of it to win here. Think definitely could hit the board underneath, like Eddie said, very consistent. Just not a win contender, but underneath and currently 14-1. I mean, it's pretty good for a horse that seems to find its way into money more often than not.
One of the nice jockey stats I saw was with De La Cruz is he's 15% routes. He does much worse in sprints for a usual jock. When you see him right around that 10, 13%, it's always good to figure out which side they're usually better on, either whether it being surface or distance. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in the later part of the card, which is mostly routes. The number 6, Eddie, Proverb. Flavian Pratt comes over today. Richard Baltas, who had been listening earlier, I guess he had a clenbuterol positive, and Benny said that his barn went very cold. Now he's starting to heat up again. What are your thoughts on the 6?
The only negative I can see on this horse is that Rosario isn't riding him. Flavian Pratt is, and which isn't a bad change. This horse is classy. He's run against Curlin Rules, Mr. Money, Signal Man, Night Ops, Warriors Charge, Market King. This horse has battled with a lot of really, really good horses. I love his last work. He's my second choice in this race, and he could win.
Vinny?
I think the distance is a little too far for the 6. Actually, I think he wants a mile or less. His best races, in my opinion, have been his mile races. As they stretch, like his I feel like in mile and a 16th, mile and an 8th, that he has been keeping good company, but they're just not his best. They're not his best efforts. So I thought it was a little too far, and I tossed him. But I also thought he was going to get played a little bit more today. And he's currently 16-1. I'm looking at live odds. That's pretty good value there for a horse that is coming off a win, and Pratt's pretty good, even though he doesn't get Joel.
I'll take 16-1 all day on this horse.
I would agree with that. I thought this horse was going to be near second choice, honestly.
The number 7 rotation for the already mentioned Ricardo Santana, Steve Asmussen, both with 2 wins on the day together. Thoughts, Vinny?
I like this horse. I have this horse as my second choice behind Fearless. Just very consistent horse. Has enough early speed where I think he won't be out of the race. Only concern was that it was a big effort last time out, but it was in the slot, but he also got caught. So that is concerning to me. Which is why I only put him second, but if he improves off that effort, I think he'll be tough here.
Eddie, thoughts on the 7 rotation?
So this horse kind of confounds me a little bit. I like him a lot. His last 2 races, the numbers jump off the page, but I believe his best races are on a wet track. What I don't like about the horse is that, again, a big gap in works from his last rate. He raced and no works in the last 25, 30 days. But, again, he's gone against some classy horses. Warriors Charge, Verve's Humor, Night Ops, and Painter's Battle. Good horse. I can see him getting second. I can't see him winning.
Thoughts on the 8 Lord Guinness? I feel like I could use a Guinness right now. Joe Talamo, top 3 riders over here for the Colony. Tim Yakteen, only 1 starter at the meet so far. Eddie, thoughts coming out of the Oaklawn Mile?
This horse needs a lot of pace in front of him, and I don't think there's a ton of pace in this race. I think there's a couple of speed race horses in this. His last race to me is baffling. Maybe a bit too jumped up in class a little bit more, but I'm not using this horse at all.
I think you have to look at it too when you look at the top 3 finishers from 150K listed stake. It's Tom Zitot and Probable Bank It. I mean, it's not really the usual 150K stake race we see. This is more like a modified grade 3 that just kind of probably lost its ranking in the last couple of years.
I agree with that. If he had finished 4th or 5th or maybe even 6th, I could have used him, but he finished 10th, way out of his class.
Off slow does get the jockey upgrade. We'll have to see if Lord Guinness can step it up. Vinny, thoughts on the 8?
I thought he was intriguing. He almost made my top 4. Actually, I decided to go elsewhere with my top 4 than Lord Guinness. But it wouldn't surprise me if he finds his way in. I just think he was a little too inconsistent for my liking, and even though that Oaklawn Mile is probably a modified grade 3, he just did no running in that race. So I don't really like to see that. I would have liked to see him at least move a little bit. So I'm gonna let him beat me here, but maybe it was just because it was a sloppy track and he is a California horse. So maybe getting back to the dry track is what this one needs.
The number 9, Asking for It. If for people who know Joe Christofek, who does a bunch of stuff for Churchill Downs, Fairgrounds, all that, this is his brilliant racing stable. I've seen a lot of stuff of him on Facebook. What are your thoughts here, Benny?
I don't like him. No offense to Joe, but I'm not a fan of this one. I think he would need he'd need to jump up huge to win here today.
Eddie C, thoughts on the number 9, Asking for It?
I'm laughing because he's my sleeper pick here.
Fair enough.
Look, this horse is run in great company. Gray Magician, Next Go, Night Ops, Portal, Dream Zapper by my standards. He's running in great company. I love that he's got some good works back in early March and that he's had 2 works here at Oaklawn. I think he's a sleeper pick that can pick up some pieces. Again, not a win candidate, but I think he's in the try and supers if you're playing.
The number 10, Eddie Mogaccia, David Cohen for Jeremiah Englehart. Thoughts on the 10?
All right, so this is the horse that scares me the most. I think he can go gate to wire. Very classy horse. Again, he's run against some good horses. Potomac being one. If you remember, Pickford just ran the other day. Really solid horse. I'm hoping he comes second because I'm all in on the 3. So this I'm using him second and third in big exactas with my other choices.
30-1, not a bad price if you can splash in the bottom of the exotics. Vinny, thoughts on the number 10, Mogaccia?
I don't think he's fast enough early, and I think he's going to suffer because of that. He does have early speed, but I think there are faster horses in this field early, and I think he's going to be, since he's breaking from the 10, I think he's going to end up being hung pretty wide in that first turn, and I think that will be it for him. I'm not that big of a fan.
The guys in the earlier pod talked about how it seemed like every single horse in the outside post just seemed to be 4 or 5 wide all day. And that's also a reason why the rail seems to be doing so well for horses that are showing speed. Seems to be a pretty consistent horse with the 82 to an 86. Obviously, lightly raced with only 6 starts, but would I think need a little bit of a jump up to handle this class. The number 11, Home Run Trick, Vinny. De La Cruz coming out of an optional 50.
I think this actually ends up. I think this horse can clear the field early, and just set very quick fractions. That's why I don't really like the 10 because I think the 11 is actually faster out of the gate. I think the 11's faster out of the gate and is just going to be dead sent. There is no other way this horse can win unless he just goes straight to the lead early. So I think Cruz is going to do whatever he can to make sure this horse has the lead going into the first turn.
Eddie, thoughts on the 11?
Man, Vinny and I agreed early, but we're disagreeing late because I mean I think this horse does get the lead, but this horse is going to tire late. Again, he's another horse that didn't work for a full 30 days, or at least published works. His last two works are so-so. I think he goes to the front, but he tires late. I don't even think he hits the board.
I agree with that. I don't think he's gonna hang around, but I think he's just gonna I think he's gonna end up blowing up the rest of the speed horses.
The number 12 Dumph Orlando Mojica for Robertino Diodoro. This seems to be his top connection rider for just one with an 82 out of a non-winner of 3 lifetime, and now comes in off the claim for Diodoro.
Yeah, I can't. I hate harping on this one more time, but again, number one, no published works, 30 days. Number two, Diodoro is great off the claim, but you're claiming off of Joe Sharp. So what does that mean? May not be a good thing. Not using this horse in any way, shape, or form at all.
Vinny.
Yeah, I thought Dumph caught a very good trip last time out. He went off. He was a heavy favorite in that claiming 30. He just snuck it out. Garcia doesn't get the mount back today. I don't know. From 30 to 1 on the outside. If you like him, like not gonna talk you off him, but I think there's much better options in here.
I know me and you, Vinny, had talked about this, and me and Marshall were the one who looked up the stat, but it's interesting. Diodoro, I know he's not dropping this time, but when he drops with Mojica, more than 50% in the claiming tag, he has a positive ROI. And when he does it with his second leading rider, David Cohen, it's a negative ROI. So just something interesting. I kind of really tend to think when Mojica's on that the number one jockey against the number two, Mojica just gets a lot more live mounts than David Cohen. Let's look at the board real quick. The number 3, Fearless at 6-5. The number 7 at 7-2. Unfortunately, we can't show the live stream of the races anymore. Just something ended up happening with OBS between mine and Marshall's computer. So you'll have to just listen and look at our beautiful faces for the rest of the day. What are your guys' thoughts on the two horses that seem to be taking the most money right now?
Well, go ahead, Vinny.
Oh, you go, Eddie.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, I think Vinny. I mean, Vinny and I agree on Fearless. I think it's to me, it's one of the standout horses of all the races today. It's one of my top 3 plays. The 7 rotation getting a lot of play. I'm not a huge fan of that horse. I don't know why I'm not, to be honest with you, but I got to go back to the 6. I think the 6 is the price play in the race. So I'm playing 3-6.
Vinny, thoughts on the top 2?
I think the money. I think the money's right on the top 2. I think Fearless looks very tough here. They went ambitious last time with throwing them in the New Orleans handicap. This is probably the spot where he should have ran last time. Some of the horses he went against last time out are running later in the Oaklawn handicap. So he's the class of the field, I think. And if he runs back to his first 2 career efforts, I think the rest are running for second.
Hey Spencer, let me just jump in real quick. Vinny, I want to know your thoughts. The one Popular Kid, Rosario's coming back on him, second time back. Again, my thing about the one is his last 3 races were wet track. What are your thoughts on him? Because I'm now giving him a chance because I think he can rate and be right there.
I like him underneath. I don't think he's good enough to beat the three. I just he's kind of, in my opinion, he's more of a one-paced horse, even though it does seem like some of his past races he comes from the back. The rail's been good today though, so I would not be surprised if he hits the board, but I think a few horses here would have to not fire for him to actually win.
This is actually going to be my pick of the race. Keeping Rosario, me and Vinny have been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. Rosario is like 26 for 33 in the money, so he always seems to be hitting the board. You're getting good value at 5-1. The wet track races would concern me if he didn't already have 6 wins on a dry track, and the fact that he likes to win. And what I mean by that is there's some horses that you see that just seem to love being underneath. They'll have a lifeline of like 15 races, 1 win, 6 seconds, and 3/3. This horse has 9 wins, 7 seconds, and 3/3. I think he knows how to find the winner's circle. I think he loves Oaklawn, 3 for 3 in the exacta, and 5 for 10 at the distance. I think this horse can be very dangerous with what I consider is the top rider out in Arkansas right now.
Totally agree, Spencer. I mean, it's, he's 2 wins and 1 second out of 3 races at Oaklawn. He's got the top jock on him. Arguably the best pace jock that's in the business right now.
Mm-hmm.
He scares me, but I still think, I don't want to say the 3 wins by polls, but he should win.
So let's go into the wager. I know you talked about exactas earlier, Eddie. What are you looking wagering wise here? Let's break down your wagers.
I am boxing, doing a 3-horse exacta box 136. I'm also going to key the 3 over the 1/6 in exactas, and then I'm also going to do that same key 3 over 1/6 over all in a try and hoping for some pricing. And I'm going to use the 3 and 6 in doubles and pick 3s in the horizontal plays.
Vinny, what are you looking to do in this race?
I am going to use the 3 and a double going into the next race, and that is it.
You have a horse into the next race that you're going to be using.
I really like Candy Tycoon.
Okay.
I'm not a fan. I'm
not.
not a fan of Ginobili, and I honestly hope Ginobili takes all the money. And looking at doubles prices right now, Ginobili seems to be a slight favorite. I don't like Ginobili at all going a mile and a 16th. And Candy Tycoon is getting massive class relief today, and this is probably where he should be. I think he's sitting on a big race.
Hey, Spencer, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Vinny, I want to know your opinion on this because I love the 10 Prodigious Bay in the next race with Candy Tycoon.
Yeah, he's my second. He's my second choice actually, and I think I'm going to toss him in this double with. I think I'm going to play a $10 double 3-7, and then do a $5 double 3-10. Just in case, but I'm not. Yeah, those. I really don't like Ginobili, so.
I don't either.
What talking about wagering strategy, what is kind of your go-to, Eddie, when you're looking to wager? Like, everyone's bread and butter. Some people just love to play pick 4s. Are you more of an exacta guy? Do you like even play just win bets? What is your kind of go-to bet?
Yeah, so I've been trying to get into the horizontal bets a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not great at it because I seem to differ from my bread and butter. My bread and butter is really, I want to pick the winner, and from the winner, I can pick a couple of horses underneath for exactas. I'm very good at picking winners. I'm not great at doing verticals, and I'm not great at horizontals. So I actually, I've talked to Vinny about this a little bit, and I've talked to a couple other people. For whatever reason, I don't do well there, but for me, I'm more of a win player and daily double. I do good with daily doubles. That's the only horizontal I do well with.
Vinny, obviously being a younger handicapper, have you kind of felt that? Obviously, back in the day, it was the win play show with like a random double and maybe a trifecta was put in there at the end of the card. With us now, it's that just the pick 4, pick 5, pick 6s have just exploded. And I feel a lot of the younger bettors don't even know what it's like to really make the casual win bet anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. Everybody seems to just be chasing the big score now, and it's one of like if you're going to play every, I know it's not a great strategy. If you're going to play every race on the card and you're not going to pick your spots, I feel like it's very tough to just keep playing those pick 4s, pick 5s, and pick 6s because you'll go, like, yeah, you'll hit maybe one a week, but if you're playing them every day, playing 2 or 3 a day, like you're not going to win doing that.
They are
So, yeah, it looks like they're loading into the gate now.
putting into the gate. Even money on the 3 Fearless. The 7 kind of stayed pretty steady there at 3-1. I'm on the 1. Good luck to you, gentlemen. Good luck to anybody watching, and hopefully we will hear about your hits in the chat. Or if any questions for the guest, please. I will try and do my best to keep an eye on the chat.
Yeah, I'm actually alive in the pick 3 to a few horses here.
What do you need here, Vinny?
Let's see. I mean, I would really like the 3 because I have it hard. I have it the hardest with the 3, but I am alive to the 1, 2, 3, and the 7. Technically, 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. Actually, I'm alive to them.
Then I'm rooting for the 6 for you.
Out of the gate, looks like the 4 is going to the lead. The 11 and the 12 are also going to get over, but the 12 is going to be stuck about 3-4 wide.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to have gotten the lead on the rail at 103-1. So we got some bombs out front.
99-1 on the 4.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
It looks like they're going pretty fast, 23-1, but they are pretty spread out here. I believe that's the 7, what looks to be the Garden Trip, if he has anything, but there is no one around him.
I don't like where the 3 is. I thought the 3 was going to be able to sit probably like in that, not like the side, like probably like 5 or 6 lengths off the lead. 3 is very, very far back right now. This might be bombs away in this race.
I'm going to tell you, this 10 with Declan on him may not be bad.
I'm
3-1 Mo gotcha.
45, almost just a 46 flat, basically.
That's too fast.
There goes Dump. Dump is just making a monster run, right? He's going to be tough to run down. He's just going to circle them, and he's going to be very tough to.
The cavalry is coming, but is it too late? It looks like
it might be too late.
The 12's home.
Looks like the 5 is coming on the outside for second, but
the 3 is going to get second. The 3 is flying, but way too late. He sat him back way too far, and Dump with a monster effort. 3 just flew home, but
that's 3, 5, I believe, was the top 3 finishers. So Bob for our first.
Diodoro off the claim.
I don't want to say bad ride at all. I don't want to say that, but I don't know what happened at the start. I didn't see.
He was off a set. He broke our right. I mean, that was just he broke our right. They went very fast early, and Mojica kept the 12. He kept the 12 close. That was, it
seemed like a very weirdly run race when you look at it too. The whole field is spread out. The top 4 horses are all 20 plus 1 bombs. The 3 obviously shows his class, comes flying late, but just, I mean, and you could say it was a mistime ride, but just a very, very strangely run race. Joel's in the back of the pack there as well. Nice reclaim, 57-1, just stealing money.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was, I mean, what he sat in that first flight of horses there, the 12, and he was the survivor. There was a lot of cheap. I think we talked about it. There was a lot of cheap speed in that race that we thought was going to fade, and the 12 kind of just took over the lead, and the rest were so far behind that was it.
I'm the one who said that total toss out because he got claimed from Joe Sharp, even though it's with Diodoro and. Wow.
I mean, 57-1. He was. It seemed like he was tough to find for a lot of people today. He went off at 57-1.
I I'd like to see the blood test after the race.
The good
Van
news
huge.
is this was not in the pick 5. The next race will start the late pick 5, so people can be at least a little bit happy about that. Now it just seems to wonder if Mojica, like now I just have to really watch the Robertino Diodoro Mojica, like whenever they're in the claiming race to begin with, because this is another one where it just is crazy that this horse just gets the right kind of trip. And maybe the 3 was off a step slow, but I mean, nobody, the 7's nowhere, the 1 is nowhere. I mean, only one horse really showed up in this race, and that was the 12.
Yeah, I mean we talked about it. Coming from the back of the pack right now is not. It's not the way to go, and you want to be close. And we said it about the 2. The 7 was another one that was going to be far back. Like the 5 ended up making up ground and getting up for third. Same with the 3, but I mean they were never threats to win. When they came around for home, the 12 was gone because of how far back everybody else was.
I've talked to Vinny about this. Eddie, what do you tend to do a lot of work when the races are done for the day, or do you kind of just let it rest and then go back to it the next day? Like for me, I can't wait for the buyers to come out, like I've said at the end of the night, and I like to just look through and just see the horses that I thought were going to improve. How good was my acclimatization to the racing for that day? Do you do a lot of stuff after the race, or do you kind of just wait to do your trip work and stuff like that?
Spencer, I take some notes, but at the end of the day, I don't do anything that same night. Mm-hmm. What I will do is a day or two later, once I know that the figures are out, be it buyers, time form, whatever it might be, I'll go back and I'll take a look at them, and then I'll look at replays. I'm very simple in the way I do things. I only use daily racing form. I'm not good enough or adequate enough to look at Ragozin, time form, Thorograph, and understand those all the time.
Sure.
But I look at replays, and replays with that to me gives me my mind as to what to do. And that's what I got a couple other horses coming up later today that I love because of replays.
I think when you look back at this race, $117 horse, people will be wondering, I think, because not that the horse was that close on figures, but Diodoro reclaiming and jumping the horse up in class. I mean, this showed a lot of intent to a really good horse here.
Yeah, he jumped up. He definitely jumped up. And I mean, like I feel like he didn't win like normal, like 60 to 1 horses do. I mean, they turned for home and we said he was gone. Like he looked really good today.
So when you look at this type of race, do you think the 3, 7, and 1 due to the race shape just didn't show up, or do you think that a lot of those horses kind of just didn't have their best day, and this horse just was like, this will be like his best run race of the year, and then he'll just go back to being the normal horse?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the 3 just caught another bad racing luck trip. He flew home late. I mean, he was clearly the class of the field, and he came home very fast. But yeah, I might just draw a line through that for the 3 next time. But that was a bizarre. I don't know if I could take the 3 again at a short price after that, because on paper there was no reason he should have lost that race.
Go ahead.
Totally agree, Vinny. I mean, what's baffling about today so far is that the inner rail obviously there's a bias to it, but yet horses have also closed and won, and that 3 was flying late. So maybe there isn't a bias. Maybe it's just you got to judge as a jockey. You got to judge the pace of the race and make your move at the right time. And in that race, I think the 3 moved a little late.
Yeah, that was. I mean, the inside. I mean, I don't think the inside even helped the 12 though. I mean, that's another race where, like, yeah, he switched to the rail when he took the lead, but he sat in the middle of the track most of the race.
I want to thank everybody who is viewing the live stream right now. We have a man by the name of Mike McIntyre, who last week gave out the pick, this late pick 5 in the check
Gorgonzola.
for $2,600. Mike, I hope you have another ticket for us. We're going to talk about this first leg. Vinny, let's start with you on the number 1, Ricardo Santana, Asmussen, Life on the Road. Thoughts?
I mean, definitely a dangerous combo. He seems to have a closing kick. Again, I don't know if I really want a dead closer here, but he's been keeping good company. He's run against, as a 2-year-old, he ran against Maxfield, who we still haven't seen back, but Gouverneur Morris, who's in one of the Arkansas Derby fields later. Wells Bayou, he ran against earlier this year. Tayshawn, who's in one of the Arkansas Derby fields. So he's been keeping good company. I think he's an underneath horse at best here.
Eddie?
I agree with Vinny here. I mean, he's been keeping great company. I don't know if he's good enough for this race. $450,000 purchase is something. But again, I'm going to go back to this. No works in more than 30 days. That I do not like. So I think he may be able to come 3rd, 4th, or 5th, but I don't see anything better than that.
Now, I know that you bring up the work pattern and stuff. Now, with a lot of tracks not being open, is that something that you also can look a little bit to not worrying about as much right now with it being the pandemic and only like having 4 tracks open? Or like not having, because he hasn't worked out here in the last 30 days specifically, it's a definite negative?
Well, for me, in this particular case, it's a negative because he's based at Oakland. And from March 9th to April 23rd, there's no works. That is concerning. If it was a horse that was based in New York, Florida, California, yeah, that I can get because of the pandemic. But in this particular case, I can't get past it.
Vinny, thoughts on number 2, Ginobili?
I think he's a sprinter. I would love to see this horse go back to sprinting. He gave Nadal all he could handle in the San Vicente. He did not look good at 6 furlongs here. Earlier this last month. Now I forgot it was. We changed months here. He did not look good going 6 here. So the stretch out, I think, it is kind of weird. He's never gone 2 turns in his career. They decided today was the day. Just seems odd to me. I'm passing on him.
Eddie, thoughts on the 2?
I agree with Vinny here. I think this horse is a sprinter. I mean, if you look at his breeding on the sire side, Munnings and Speightstown on the dam side, Sharp Humor, these are horses that were really, really good at a mile or less. The 90 Beyer speed figure jumps off the page. You could say he bounced last time and he came back with a nice work after that. But and he's kept good company as well. But I think this horse is a sprinter. The stretch out, it's bizarre to me as well. I'm not using.
Interesting that he is 5-1 on the board. Just seems to me like you might be getting a little bit extra value on a horse here not being taken. Seems to be a little icy on the board. Let's go to number 4, Villainous, Jeremiah Englehart. Orlando Mojica, the recent 57-1 winner. Thoughts on this horse, Eddie?
I love the breeding on this horse. $100,000 purchase, but the breeding really, for me, for my liking, screams off the page. Really, really, really good works. At a price, I'm using this horse underneath. Not on top, but I'm definitely using this horse. I think he can run the distance, and I like that he doesn't have to have the lead. He can rate and pounce. So my hope is he finishes 2nd or 3rd.
Benny, thoughts on the 4?
I like him a little bit. I like him as a long shot. He broke his maiden back in the end of January here, and he beat Hunt the Front in that race, who already won on today's card. So that looks good. He ran in the Southwest to when Silver Prospector just ran a huge race. He finished sixth by 12 lengths, but I mean that was a very strong field with what Silver Prospector and Wells Bayou in there. And then he just came back and he ran in the allowance race that kind of moved Tayshawn up to Graded Stakes Company. So he's been keeping good company. Like Eddie said, I do like the breeding a lot. I think he fits.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the number 5 Spanish Kingdom, Vinny Martin Garcia, second leading rider for the meet, hasn't won yet today. Also going out for Joe Sharp.
I like the breeding on this horse, but I don't think this is the right spot for him. It took 5 tries to break his maiden. He's shipping in from Fairgrounds, going turf to dirt. I think he's more of a turf. I think he's going to be more of a turf horse. I think they just really needed a spot for him and needed to get him back on the track. So I'm not putting too much stock into this one.
Thoughts, Eddie?
Yeah, I agree. I think they were trying to find a spot for this horse. This horse is bred for turf. Now, granted, he's got some really nice works coming into this, and turf to dirt is a nice angle. I could see this horse maybe getting a piece, but for a win candidate, I don't see it. This horse needs to be on turf.
I'm in corner. Declan Cannon 50-1. Warren for Jeremiah O'Dwyer. Eddie 32-1 right now, so he is taking some money.
Yeah, I don't see it, to be honest with you. Again, his last no work since his last race. They're putting blinkers on. I think they're trying to figure out something about this horse. Maybe they got a little too ambitious with him, putting him in a couple of stakes races. But I don't see any consistent form with him, so I can't use him.
Vinny, thoughts?
I think with the blinkers, I think this horse is going to be sent, and the way that some of the speed has been holding, I don't think he can. I don't think he's a win candidate, but I think he's one that the way the track's playing, you can't toss if you're like if you're a try or super player. Trainer stats for O'Dwyer, first time blinkers, 2.8 ROI. Blinkers on, he's 17% with a 3.15 ROI. Like, not bad numbers for adding blinkers. Definitely definitely smaller connections, and he's also coming out of the race where I get that Shoot or Shoot one against Blackberry Wine, and I know a lot of people like Shoot or Shoot going into today before he scratched against Charlatan later. So it's not like he's not coming out of a bad race, it seems like. And he finished 4th there at 60-1. Like, he's going to be a price, and he's got some back class that makes him seem like a logical play underneath.
The number 7 Candy Tycoon is actually the favorite right now, 3-1. Eddie, maybe Johnny V got all the closing kick he needed last race. Now he knows exactly what to do with the type of horse.
Well, we talked about this horse a little bit earlier. I love the breeding. I'm a big Candy Ride breeding horse. They paid $170,000 for this horse. He's running really, really good company, and he hasn't embarrassed himself. I mean, he gave Etienne Dien everything that he could get. His last race was a little baffling to me, but he got beat up at the start, I think. The only thing I could say is that there's a big break in the works, but I liked the work. I watched his work on April 25th. I'm using him win in place and in horizontals for sure.
Vinny, one of your horses I know you've been looking forward to betting today.
Yeah, I really like him. I actually think he's going to be a little close. I'm hoping he's a little closer to the pace today than he was in the Fountain of Youth. He's been keeping really good company. His schedule, I think, got a little got a little messed up. I mean, most horses have, but his earlier before the COVID-19, he was supposed to run that Fountain of Youth Day. He was supposed to run in an allowance race that didn't fill. So he was a late entrant into the Fountain of Youth, and he runs a big second. And off that big second, they decided to go to the Florida Derby, which the Florida Derby was probably the original plan, but I think they probably would have liked him coming in off of a nice allowance win. But they tried the Florida Derby. Nothing went right that day for him, and obviously he finished sixth by 21 lengths. I don't think he would be good enough to beat Tiz the Law anyway, but I think he's going to bounce back to around that mid 80 buyer that he had already shown this year. And if he does that, I think he's going to be very tough to beat against in this field.
Little hard to take a horse, even though he is dropping in class. That was a rough Florida Derby, but the works coming out of it aren't that bad. Pletcher and Johnny V, tried and true. They're pretty much what Asmussen and Santana are for New York. The number 8, Cazzarelli, gets Tom Amoss trainee coming out of a win in a 50K claimer. Vinny?
I actually really like this horse underneath. He's got
at 10
yeah,
right now, so
he's 10-1 right now.
yes, sir.
Oh God, that's why I need to pull the odds up. I don't at 20 to 1. I thought he was an interesting play underneath. At 10-1, I don't know. That makes me concerned that Candy Tycoon's not really getting played that hard. Hard then. But anyway, I think this horse, he didn't break well last time, and he was still much the best. I think he's going to be another horse that's going to be much closer to the pace here, and he gets Bridgemahan back, which I really like. So I like Bridgemahan when he on horses like this. I feel like they usually end up beating me, but I'm going to use this one.
Eddie, the horse won the 50K claimer, like we had said earlier, but he won it at 20 to 1. So is this the type of horse that maybe bettors just overlook and overthink about?
Well, I mean, if you look one race back, I mean, he was a 2 to 1 favorite, and he won, broke his maiden. So obviously, it's a horse that was well respected his first couple of races. I kind of like this horse a little bit too. I really like Tommy Amoss as a trainer. The horse, he's won at the distance. His first work back after that race is really solid. Yeah, I give him a chance underneath again, because there's a horse I really, really like that we're going to talk about in just a minute.
The 9 is currently 48 to 1. If either of you don't have anything to say, and it's kind of just a pass horse, we can move on to the 10. Does anybody have anything to say about the 9 real quick?
I don't. I'm not going to use the 9 because they had to drop him to a maiden claimer last time to break his maiden. But he's run against some good. I mean, he ran against Ginobili in a sprint, which I think Ginobili's a sprinter. This horse ran against Honor AP the day Honor AP broke his maiden. He ran against Royal Act, who almost won the Robert B. Lewis. He ran against Azul Coast, who won. What was that? The Sunland. He won. Okay, yeah, he won some. He won some stakes race. Like, he's got some back class. But I mean, again, I think it's a stretch for him to win today.
Vinny pretty much just said it all. The only thing I will add to this is, since the maiden win, man, these two works on April 3rd and April 10th to me jump off the page. So, and then his last work on the 24th, fairly solid, not time wise, but competitive wise. I think you could use them if you're going to play the exotics, but yeah, to win, no chance.
The number 10, Prestigious Bay, Raul Moquette, who was one of the hotter trainers last week, but now has definitely cooled off. He's on my cold list this week. I think he was like 0 for his last 11 in 10 days. Flavian Pratt comes aboard. Don't really know if it's an upgrade off Van Dyke, but thoughts on this one, Eddie?
Yeah, this is one of my best plays of the day. If you look at his last race, maybe he freaked on the slop, but it was a closing slop field, and this horse went gate to wire and pulled away in hand. If you watch the replay, the horse was under wraps, and then he comes back with an unbelievable work after that race, going 47-4 for 4 furlongs. It's his third race off a layoff. Love this horse. My top play for this race.
Vinny, thoughts on the 10?
I like the 10, not as much as Eddie Eddie does. He did win that last race, and we did see Hunt the front come back to win. He also lost to Wild Pulpit, who did not run very good earlier, 2 races back. So we'll see. I think for the price right now, I think he's a solid play. I don't know if he's going to be able to go gate to wire against this group. I think he's going to have to rate, especially from the 10 post.
We get to the last of the contenders. So it says on the board, this 11 at 7-2 hasn't taken any money really off a 5-2 morning line, but it is Joel Rosario for McCarthy. Seems to improve every race. Vinny, thoughts on this one?
Rushy is actually he's my third choice in this race. Charlatan's already going to be a monster favorite later, but if Rushy wins, I think it's just going to solidify that Charlatan is worth being 1-9 later on the card. He finished second. He had Mike Smith on that day, which in my opinion means they thought this horse was very good. Ran into a freak. He finished in front of Great Power, who was the wise guy horse against Charlatan that day. He ran against 1,000 Words back as a 2-year-old. Who 1,000 Words was a very, very good 2-year-old who just doesn't seem to have improved. They gave him an 80. He got an 88 buyer for the Charlatan race, which I think probably is inflated because of the fact that they gave Charlatan triple digits. But if this horse improves, there's no horse that, in my opinion, in this race that's like Charlatan quality. So that second by 10 to Charlatan might be good enough to win here.
Eddie, thoughts on the 11?
I mean, I agree with Vinny from the standpoint that, Charlatan is a special horse. My thing with the 11, and I'm a huge Rosario fan. I think most people that follow me on Twitter know this. Rosario's my boy. I don't think this horse wants any part of this distance. I think this horse should be running at a mile or less. I mean, less than a mile. He ran against Charlatan, but he lost by 10 plus lengths. He doesn't want any part of this. So I'm not even using, I hate to say this because I love my boy Rosario, not using him at all in this race.
The last 2 horses, 13-1 and 39-1. Do we have anything to say about the bombs before we move on to another question?
I think that 12 can hit the board. That's all I'm going to say.
Vinny?
He's run against some good company. Other than that,
I don't. I'm not a fan. He has run against good company. I think he needs to improve. It seems like he's, in my opinion, the numbers say he's stepped forward since his maiden win, but I haven't seen. I don't really think so. I think he's going to need a big effort today to win.
Now, with this being the opening part of the Pick 5, do you guys have a couple plays later? So people who are building tickets right now, if you had a horse in the next 4 races that you were going to not build the ticket around, but one that you think is a very strong play, do you have one, Vinny?
Besides Charlatan, actually, for my late pick, pick 5 here, I am going to for my $2 ticket. I'm actually going to single Candy Tycoon here.
Okay.
I think this is a spot where not a lot of people are going to single because it is a very competitive race, and it will give me the opportunity to spread later. So I really like Candy Tycoon here, and in the Oaklawn handicap, I know that field on paper looks very loaded. I honestly think it's a 2-horse race, and so I'm only going to use By My Standards and Tacitus in that race.
Eddie, thoughts? I don't know if you're playing a pick five, but if you were going to give out a couple horses later to help build a ticket, what would they be?
All right, so I am playing a pick five, and I'm playing in this race the 7 Candy Tycoon and the 10 Prodigious Bay. Those are my only two plays in this race. In my pick five, I'm not using Charlatan just because I'm trying to hit a price. I will tell you that my key in the pick five and my best bet of the day is in the 12th race, Mr. Freeze. That is my key in every bet that I'm making horizontal throughout the day.
3 minutes to post. Did the wagering kind of seem? It seems a little weird. The 7 at 3-1, 11 3-1. The 10 is at 4-1, and then Ginobili's stuck at 5-1. It seems like a very contentious race, and it seems one that the public just doesn't really know where to go at.
Yeah, and I think the problem with that though is that like the public doesn't know where to go, and I think a big problem, the big reason, not really a problem, but the big reason why is that you have these morning line favorites like Ginobili and like Candy Tycoon who are coming out of multiple losses in a row. The public looks for wins. So now you have this morning line favorite who's 3-1, and the public does know okay, this race is probably better than that race, but especially a day like today where I'm assuming the pools are very big. I haven't really been looking at the pools yet.
Yeah.
But you have a day like today, and you're telling me that the random person who normally just plays on Kentucky Derby, normal Kentucky Derby weekend, looks at the 7 and he's just he's like, okay, well that horse is the favorite, but he hasn't won. He's 1 for 7 in his career. Why am I playing this horse? So I feel like this is one of those races where you're getting a lot of people playing names and colors, honestly, for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this is why for my $2 ticket, I'm singling Candy Tycoon because he's 3-1, but I bet in multi races, I think I'm going to get every bit of that 3-1. Whereas if this was just like a normal Wednesday, he'd probably be 9-5 right now, and he'd probably be even less in the multis.
Eddie, does any horse seem like an overlay here that you thought would be a little bit lower on the board?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm going to go back to the 12. I think the 12 is a little bit of an overlay. I'm not saying that the 12 wins, but at 11-1, it's a nice price. So I could see using that horse, but I love the 10 in this race. As I said earlier, he's one of my top plays. I really, really like him.
It's super interesting for me. I'm not the biggest pace handicapper. Marshall, obviously, and guys like Benny can speak more on it. To me, this day so far has been, if you're not in the top 4, you can't win the race. So it's kind of like if you're a closer, it's almost like an auto toss at this point, which is so interesting because, when you look back at the 3 was supposed to go at least a little bit. And now in this race, when you look at the pace, I feel like even a big duel on the lead 3 wide, those horses can still kind of hold on. I feel like the bias is definitely going towards the front for sure.
Yeah, it's weird though, because then you get a rate, especially as we get into, I think I've said this to you before, just off camera, when you start getting moving up in class with horses,
Mm-hmm.
we start getting to the high allowance and the stakes company horses,
Yeah.
they tend to run the form more. And so you had the one allowance race earlier that Endorsed won. Endorsed was pretty far back early. And he ended up winning. And it's so that race runs the form, but then, you have that, what was that? The last race, what was that? Was that an NX1 or an NX2?
Pretty much.
There.
That's when NX2.
Right. So you have a race like that that's won by a 60-1 shot that was in the top, it was an optional claiming that was very on paper wasn't the strongest. So you get a race like that where the top, you had to be in the top flight winning, but it was probably just because of the quality of horses in the race.
I mean,
hey Vinny, real quick before they go off, is it not kind of shocking that we're not talking about Ginobili at all?
I didn't like him, so I was not planning to. But I mean, if he can get a mile, if this horse can get a mile in the 16th against this field, I'll be like, I'll be kind of surprised, honestly. I don't. I think there would really have to be a big inside bias for him to win. I think.
Well, like I said, the horse is bred to be a mile or shorter, but people love him.
Yeah.
Good luck in your wagers. Good luck to you guys with me on the stream. Good luck to you guys in the chat. Let's see who can win this allowance race.
Right. And let's welcome Marshall back. I can see his shirt.
It seems like the 10 is going to get out. He's going to get the lead. The 11 is going to follow suit. The 12, it seems to me like that 11-12 pole, he's going to get over, but he's still 3 wide.
Yeah, and the 7 is sitting closer today. I love where the 7 is sitting right now.
So it does seem like another strung out field. Now they seem to be slowing it down a little bit.
Yeah, but that's another. Ginobili has shown speed in all of his starts, and all of a sudden, Ginobili's getting rushed up a bit right now. He's getting rushed up a bit because he doesn't want to be in the back.
23-2 for that opening quarter. The 10 just looks in dreamland right now.
He does look in dreamland. I love where the 7 is. If the 7's good, if the 7's got a closing kick though, he's going to be there late.
Can we just take the 10 gate to wire, please?
I think the top 4 right now are going to be your top 4 unless something drastic happens here. I don't see much.
Running easy. I love the way he's running.
Your 12-2 Eddie running much above seems to be going very well. And now we come down to this. The 7's going to have to find a hole, and the 12 looks like it's going to come right over the top of everybody.
No, 7's got a hole. 7's got a hole if he can get through it. 7's got a hole if he can get through it.
Looks to be the 11.
Oh, no.
Yep. Right. I mean, that's big for Charlatan later. I mean, that is.
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, and like I said, I really I used Rushy on my 50-cent ticket because of that. Because if that rate I mean, Charlatan's been number 1 on my Derby board for a while, but I mean that was finished 10 lengths behind Charlatan, and then he puts away horse. He won that pretty easily.
He drifted a little bit, but
he did drift a little bit.
But that's Rosario, man. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Your 12 ran good though.
Yeah, he did.
Your 12 ran good. Candy Tycoon ran good just in the stretch. He might not be a horse that wants to run between horses, and he wants to be on the outside of them, because it looked like I should have to see the head on. It looked like he had a little bit of a hole there when the 10 started to die and the 12 kind of shifted out, and he still moved him out a couple paths. So kind of that might be kind of concerning with Candy Tycoon moving forward. But again, I think I think that's an example of the best horse I think won that race.
That was
I think so.
fourth on the card as well. And also, if you look at 11, 7, 12, 10, I don't see much else that came out from off the pace there. It seems to be very much speed favoring now at the track so far.
And I mean, like we said, Ginobili did nothing there. I mean, we were right about that. He rushed up, and that was it.
When you look at his race, I mean, I think that Ginobili running so bad there might tell you something for the second leg of the Arkansas Derby with Nadal. Everyone seems to think that this horse is, just as, maybe not as good as Charlatan, but always going to be good enough to beat that field. This doesn't inspire anything for me to think that horse can do as well.
I would say that, but that Arkansas, the Rebel that he ran was, he answered a lot of questions, I thought, that day in the Rebel, and he has we'll talk more about it later, but I know, especially for people who are on Twitter, a big thing is these Bob Baffert 6 furlong workouts.
Yep.
And Nadal's last he's gone his last 4 workouts, 6 furlongs 111, 5 furlongs 59, 6 furlongs 111, 5 furlongs 59. Like, this horse could not look any better on the track right now. You get Rosario, who's red hot today. I think it's even if you don't like him, I think at this point you have to include him on tickets because he's dangerous.
I think when you look at this field too, the 12 did hit the number at 9-1, so a nice little backdoor. I mean, we pretty much talked about every single horse here. Not that it's that easy, but it seemed like the public had this one down as well. There's not many bombs in here, whereas in the last race, it seemed like just nobody really put any faith into the 12.
Yeah, and that was. I mean, I'm curious who's going to be second choice to Charlatan right now.
When they were talking in the earlier part of the show, the guys were talking about how the outside post, they just didn't want much to do with it. So in this race, we have the 11, the 12, and the 10 all finished in the top 4. So to me, it's not so much a wide bias as it is just get there and get to the front. Because the 11 was, I think, 3 going into the first turn.
Yeah, and I think that the classier. I mean, that's the thing with the biases. I think there's a few other people who, like, experts who say this a lot. I think that people are quick to judge a bias early on in a card based on who's winning, but you really have to look at who's winning these races.
Yeah,
like, the top 2, in my opinion, the top 2 horses in that race finished 1-2. Like, is that really, like, was there really a bias there, or did the top 2 horses in that race really just run that much, like, where they were just the top 2 horses? So I think that's the other thing, is you just have to go back and look and see who won and how these horses ran.
Even when you go back and look, and I'm sure, Eddie, you can also give a little bit of talk about this. The Kelsey Har horse that won was a perfect trip up the rail that they just opened the Red Sea for. And then the 12 was just, casually stalking and just, stalk and pounce. And that seemed to be a perfect trip. So it's not like these horses that are winning at balloons are, maybe the 5 was a little bit unfindable in the form, but I wasn't that far off from the Diodoro horse in that last race because you have to at least respect him when he's jumping in or off of a claim. Eddie, your thoughts on what we've seen so far? Do you think it's more of a bias, or you think that it's just the right horses are winning and it's kind of still playing fair?
Actually, I think it's playing fair. I mean, I initially thought that the rail speed bias was in effect, and maybe some jockeys are, I don't want to say panicking, but maybe they think that they got to get to the lead and get on the rail. But we're seeing horses rating, and we're seeing a lot of horses close late, maybe not winning, but they're closing to finish second, third. So I think it's right moving forward for the last few races. It's jockeys judging pace and speed and what's moving forward, especially in the next 4 races. I mean, I think there's a ton of speed horses coming up, and you're going to find out how good these jockeys are riding on these horses are.
I feel, too, and we can talk about this a little bit more because I think the next race with Charlatan will be kind of a quick and easy talk. Let's talk some wagering strategy right now. If you look at this last race, there was a lot of horses. 3-1 was the favorite. If you can find Rushy on your pick 5 ticket and single, you just have so much more equity going forward when a lot of people are going, 11, 7, 12, 10, because there's so many horses that are so tightly bunched and it's such a contentious race. If you can find that single, and now you're singled into Charlatan, you save so much money for those back 3 races where you can go 5, 6, 7 deep now. Vinny, your thoughts?
Right, and that's what that's what my $2 ticket. I singled Candy Tycoon, hoping that I could get him home. But like on my 50-cent ticket, I was only 3 deep. Mm-hmm. I used I had the 7, I had the 11, and I actually used the 1 as a bomb on that 50-cent ticket. But yeah, like singling multiple singles in a sequence are great, and that's like, if you have a strong opinion about a horse like that, like Rushy, like you might as well single it, because then it loads up. Like I know I don't know about you guys, like I think race 14 is wide open. And for me, that was a race where I was I have strong opinions in the first four. I had strong opinions in the first four legs of the sequence. So I used all in that last. I have all in that last leg because I'm either singled or only going too deep the rest of the way on my tickets. So I mean, in going thin and like taking stands with your strong opinions allows you to use all in a 14 horse race.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, fortunately, I went to start the pick 5. I went 7, 10, 11. So I'm alive, but I took a huge chance. I have 2 tickets. One of them I threw Charlatan out and I used Daw, and the other one I singled Charlatan. But I have Mr. Freeze keyed in both of them. So if Mr. Freeze doesn't win, I lose. But going to Vinny, where the last race is a confounding race, so to speak. I think the 2 standouts in the last race are the 5 and the 9. So that's all I have in the last race. So because of that, I was able to, spread in a couple of other races without it being a big ticket. So I'm only in 2 tickets. I'm only $48 deep. So, if I hit, great. If I don't, it's not a big loss.
Quick shout out to the guys in the chat. Brian Duransky, who does our Stronach 5 and also has been doing a ton of Oaklawn work for us. Special appreciation for him. He says Eddie is spot on. Think the verticals with the closers, keyed second and third, is an approach that could win money today. And Mike McIntyre, the pick 5 king from last week, handing out that pick 5, says all you need in the 14th is the 5 and the 14. So he's got you half there, Eddie. The 14 coming in should be interesting as well. Well, let's get started now talking about this first edition of the Arkansas Derby. Let's start off with the horse everyone's been waiting to see next time out. It's the 1, Charlatan for Bob Baffert, Vinny. I mean, what is there to say about this horse that somebody hasn't already said?
I don't know. I don't know what else there's left to say on them. Back-to-back 100 plus buyers actually improved from a 105 to a 106. I mean, if you're looking for a red flag, Drayden isn't on him today. I like Garcia. Garcia's great though. So I mean, Drayden's not here today. I guess your other, if I don't know how many people here use the Thoroughgraphs, but Thoroughgraph wise, he paired up zeros in his first 2 races. So I mean, I think he's either gonna run huge here, or I think there could be a bounce coming. But those are the only 2 negatives I see on this horse.
Eddie?
All right, before I go into what I want to say, Vinny, I may be missing this. Why isn't Drayden out here riding this horse?
I'm guessing it has to do with COVID. I know I don't know if Drayden's one of the guys, but there's a few riders who took breaks, and I know depending on where you were in the country, there's you had the quarantine. Like I know John Velasquez had to do a 14-day quarantine because he was in New York before he came here. So it could be something as simple as that. So I'm not taking too much stock into not regular riders being on horses for just the way everything is right now. I mean, you have a huge, this is the biggest day we've had pretty much all year so far, and neither Ortiz brother is here. Right. So it's it's kind of hard to say why he's not here.
Okay, I was just asking just in case, but so going to Charlatan here. Here's my thought. If you guys remember a few years back, Bellamy Road came into the Kentucky Derby. I want to say off of maybe 120 something buyer figure in the wood, I believe it was. And I said this horse could bounce and win the Derby. Mm-hmm. I'm saying the same thing about Charlatan. Charlatan, well, and by the way, he didn't win the Derby. But Charlton could bounce and win this race. Now, we're going to find out real quickly how good this horse is, because if this horse runs another 100-plus buyer figure and wins by poles and does it easy, yeah, I think we got a special horse on our hands.
The number 2, My Friend's Beer, fantastic name. Just ended up running third in an optional claimer and second in a Laurel listed stake. Just kind of seems to be out of his depth in this type of field.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you take away Charlatan, or you're already putting Charlatan on top in this field, looking for a horse to run second, My Friend's Beer fits. He ran into a very good field last time. Pneumatic has been highly touted, very lightly raced so far. So I wouldn't put it past this horse to finish in the money. Again, if something happens and like Charlatan misses the break he misses the break and spots the field 10 lengths like we saw earlier on the card, who missed the break there in like race 4, and that made it Fryer there.
Yeah,
best horse in the race, but you don't break right, and you spot horses like a few lengths, like tough to make. It definitely could be tough to make up. So if you're not all in on Charlatan, I think My Friend's Beer is a very live long shot.
Eddie, thoughts on the 2?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Vinny. I don't think the horse can win, but I think the horse is definitely gonna hit the board. He runs late. He picks up pieces. Is there enough speed in this race for him to close? That's the question, because I honestly believe Charlatan might get. I mean, somebody's got to go with Charlatan, and if they don't, Charlatan's going. It's going to be a workout for the horse. But this horse, no reason he can't come second or third.
The 3, Mimosa, Kendrick Carmouche gets on for a horse that only has won on a synthetic surface. What are your thoughts, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm going to be quick on this. Total toss. On to you, Vinny.
Same. I guess the positive you could say is that he closed for third against Shooter Shoot and Blackberry Wine at a big number. But I mean, he's going to need a lot. He's going to need a lot more to finish in the money today.
I think Kendrick, too, being on a horse that only won when showing speed in the last 2, has not really shown any speed, is kind of not a disaster, but just not a recipe for success.
Listen, and if Kendrick doesn't send him, the horse has zero chance, because Carmouche is great on the lead, and that's the only way he could do with this horse.
I mean, Benny earlier says him talking could stop Secretariat. Now Eddie has put Mimosa into the winner's circle of the Arkansas Derby.
I did not put him in the winner's circle.
The number 4, Governor Moore, seems to be the only horse that anybody thinks has a shot here. Johnny V. Pletcher again. Thoughts, Vinny?
I think if Charlatan doesn't show up, he is the most likely winner. My issue with him is that his 2 races this year have both, in my opinion, kind of just been blah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he won his 3-year-old debut, and he increased it. He set a new career high in speed figure, but he beat Untitled, who I think I said with you before, is kind of like become this like benchmark horse that shouldn't have become a benchmark horse, because he was highly touted and just has done nothing. So, I mean, I don't know how beating Untitled really looks anymore. And then in the Florida Derby, he got a good trip. Just, he wasn't like Tiz the Law was clearly better, but he got a good trip, and he couldn't pass really anybody. So I don't know how good he really is, but again, outside of Charlatan, this field is very suspect. So you land on him as your next most likely winner.
Eddie, thoughts on the 4?
All right, so before I go through, I'm going to ask you guys a question.
I'm ready.
If it wasn't Pletcher and Windstar, This horse should be 15-1. He's a good horse. He doesn't. I don't think the horse likes to win, to be honest with you. And against this field, I see 3 or 4 horses that are better. And I hate that the 7 got scratched because the 7 was my long shot of the day. So
Yeah, he's 2 for 4, and it's hard to say he doesn't like to win. He ran into. I mean, Maxfield. People still think is. So there's some people who still have him as the top 3-year-old right now off that Breeders' Futurity win, and then you have other people who think Tiz the Law is the top 3-year-old. So I mean, it's not like his 2 losses are super bad, but I agree with you. If it wasn't Pletcher, Winstar, and Johnny V, this horse is probably at least like 7-8 to 1 rather than like morning line rather than 9-2 morning line.
yeah, I mean, maybe he doesn't like to win was the wrong thing to say. He's run against some good class, but yeah, I think he's an inflated horse. He reminds me of like a Brother Derek. Everybody was talking about him, and he's a good horse, but not a special horse.
I think for the time being, the number 5, Jungle Runner, when you run 5th by 22 at a Sunland listed stake, I think we can all just say hard pass.
Yeah,
I'm using underneath, just so you know.
I'm a hard pass. I like the pedigree. I like that he's a homebred, but he's a hard pass for me.
The 6 and 7 are scratch the 8, Anand Dior, Blaine Wright. This horse that everyone thought was fantastic, coming off of that second to 1,000 words, ran in the Risen Star and did a big. I mean, calling it just a complete crap start is probably undermining exactly what it was. The blinkers are coming off today. The blinkers did go on last time out. Is it just something as easy as that?
I don't think so. I don't think this horse is very good. I think he was a very good 2-year-old. The horses who he finished very closely behind as a 2-year-old have not come back to look great as 3-year-olds. Storm the Court, your 2-year-old champion, yet to find the winner's circle. Did look decent in his last start, but still didn't find the winner's circle. 1,000 Words went off. I think he went off the favorite in that Oaklawn stake there. That was the prep for this day, and did absolutely no running. That Risen Star actually came back to be a decent. Actually came back better than most people thought it would on paper. So I mean, I guess he has that going for him, but I don't think it's as simple as the blinkers off. I think this is just a horse who he was primed as a 2-year-old, and I don't know if he really has improved as a 3-year-old.
Let's talk about the number 9, Julian Leparoux. I think it's the first time I've seen him in the form today. Number 9 winning impression. Thoughts, Eddie?
Yeah, I like this horse actually. Improving buyers. I will say that it looks like his best races were on the slop, but his last workout stands out to me.
Okay.
A big bullet going 47-1. He's run against some decent company. It's a big step up for him, but I'm definitely using the horse underneath in exotics, and I probably play a little bit of win place show on the horse as well.
So this seems to me, Eddie, like this will be the one that, even though you're using Charlatan, this will be the one key that you're going to try to make a little bit of side money on.
Absolutely. This is one of the horses I looked at if I can beat Charlatan, this is one of the horses that can bring me a little value.
Try to speed this up a little bit. Vinny, thoughts on the 9?
I like the 9 as well as a long shot, actually. He is my long shot in this race as well.
The number 10, Crypto Catch, Corey Lannery for Kenny McPeak, coming out of a 4th place in a Turf Paradise rush away listed stake. This seems to be a little bit outclassed here. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. Vinny?
Yeah, I think he's very outclassed. I don't like the pedigree for the distance. Kenny McPeak is never usually one though who overplaces. Like he doesn't like he overplaces horses sometimes, but He usually put for a spot like this. I think he must think this horse is live. So we'll see. I think he is outclassed though.
Eddie, thoughts on the 10?
Yeah, again, I'm going to go back to my theory of almost went 30 days without a work, but then he did come back with 2 solid works. But yeah, I can't see this horse hitting the board at all. He's a toss for me.
The number 11, Basin. I want if you had thoughts on the 10, Vinny.
I like Basin a little bit, but I don't like him to win. I know. I think it was Benny earlier said that he's expecting Basin to move forward off of his last couple races because he's had a little trouble. I don't. I think he's a mid-80s buyer horse, and I don't think it's like I think he's. I want to see this horse get back to 1 turn. I think he's a very good 1-turn horse. His 2-turn races have not been great. I mean, the Rebel, yes, Nadal ran huge in the Rebel, but it wasn't like the field was that great where Basin should have been 3rd by 7.
Mm-hmm.
The Oaklawn Stake, I had Mr. Big News that day. Not a horse that a horse like Basin, who's been touted like Basin, should be finishing 5 lengths behind and losing ground late. I mean, Basin was 1 length. He was 1 length back. He was 6 by a length and 3/4, at the half, and he finishes 5.5 back. And yeah, he had a little trouble, but it wasn't anything significant that he finished that far behind. I think he's a horse that people are still playing on his 2-year-old form, and I think you're getting great value on him today because of Charlatan, but he's going to be a hard pass for me.
Thoughts on the 11 with 6 minutes to post, Eddie?
Yeah, for me, he's a hard pass as well. Here's a horse that, the positive angles on him in my mind are 3rd race off a layoff. Maybe he's sitting on a nice big race. But, I look at his last 2 works after that race. He goes 5 furlongs in the wet, going 1 minute and 4. And then he goes 4 furlongs at 51-1. Nothing inspires me about this. And I just think he's an overhyped horse. And personally, I agree with Vinny. He needs to be a 1-turn, a mile horse. I think he actually needs to be on the turf. I think turf breeding screams to me, and that's where he belongs. I think he's overmatched here.
Interesting. Mike McIntyre, no Drayden Van Dyke, stretching out on the rail, never raced at Oaklawn, 49 days away, has beaten 7 horses combined in both wins. Plenty of reasons to not play against a 1-5. He also seems to love Basin.
Yeah.
Well, tell Gorgonzola he's wrong.
I mean,
one's going to be right. It's either Gorgonzola and Benny, or you guys are going to be right. It's one of the
other. Yeah, and I definitely think you put I think it's he's beaten 7 horses, but one of them was Rushy by 10, who just won by 2.5 there against Candy Tycoon. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's only beat in the other race. He beat Shooter Shoot, who most people, at least before he scratched, thought was the only horse in here that could actually beat him. So I mean, I think I'll never tell anyone not to play against a 1-9, 1-5 shot. So I mean, especially today, getting value like you are on Basin, he was double digits last I looked, but I haven't looked in a minute. Yeah, he's 10-1.
So Stoner Hole just sent me a surrender flag, and of course he hit the last race, so it's not a surrender flag.
Did he hit the last race?
Yeah, he did.
I've been trying to keep up with. I
was up by a lot, but he had the winner of the last race.
No, he did. No. Wait.
What the guys are talking about right now is talking about the Daily Gallop. We're doing a season. We're about a little bit past 3/4 of the way in. We're about to start playoffs in a couple of weeks, where we're doing head-to-head matchups. Loads of fun. I think we're already full for season 2. We're doing them in 10-week cycles. possibly season 3, we're looking to get bigger and bigger. For people who are interested, look out to either myself, Marshall, or Vinny over here. 3 minutes to post. Just
Hey, Spencer.
yes.
Real quick question. Who's leading the head-to-head challenge so far?
Dennis. Dennis is
talking about.
today. Oh, you're in. Yes, you have the best record overall, but Dennis today is like Dennis today is almost $100 up on the next closest person.
I was just being an ass. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, Dennis had that 5-horse in race 3 that just put him.
I used the 5-horse in the pick 4 that I hit in the exactas, but didn't use him in this, and I'm happy for Dennis. Dennis is a good kid.
He is. He's a very Shout out to Dennis.
Shout out to Dennis. And Gorgonzola will say though, it does help when you are in the G League of our little scheduled tournament stuff going on, and not against the big boys in the A division.
he keeps. Here's the thing.
Oh boy.
He keeps saying that, but he hasn't beat me yet.
Oh boy.
I mean, we're going to make it over this. Minute to post, 1 to 5, charlatan. Everything that Mike says is correct. But I feel like with these types of horses, like when you put that up against it, everyone should just play against. But yet, as we see, the horse is 1 to 5. Is it so much that it's just, and it's hard to say because there's not how much tourist money is there when there's nobody at the track. So a lot of this is people who like the game enough to have an ADW.
Here's my thoughts on this. A new d'Or is 11 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's an incredible price on that horse. The thing is, if you like that horse, you have to love Storm the Court, and I don't.
Okay.
See, I don't think 11 to 1 is a good price on him. I would want over 20 for seeing how the horses he's run against have come back. I think like 10 to 1 I think is a great price on Basin here. But I don't think 11 to 1's great on a new d'Or, especially after his last race. If I was going to play him, he would have to be at least around like 17 to 1 before I'd even think about putting him on a ticket.
This is my
how about 24 to 1 on winning impression?
Yeah, like I think that's great. That's great. I like winning impression. He's done. So. Yeah.
This is my
I think that's great value.
And d'Or, you get the jockey back where all the success happened, and Blaine took the blinkers off. I'm not saying the blinkers were the problem last time out, but at least this is a trainer who, when you see such a misstep from a 91 to a 66, that, of course, the horse, like Vinny says, might not be good enough and was facing just, running just as well as the other 2-year-olds that haven't fired this year. But at least he's making a stepping change. Whereas a horse you look at like Governor Morris, after that Florida Derby race, I see literally nothing has changed. There was it's the same distance, the same jockey. And I know that obviously Johnny V is always going to ride in these types of races, but like there's no blinkers going on. There's nothing really going around behind the scenes as a horse like NN d'Or, and also with Basin coming in for Asmussen Santana. It's kind of just, now we have to see what he looks like, on a fast track going long for the first time. So there is different. Of the 3, I would definitely take the 8 and the 11 before I'm taking the short price on Governor Morris at 9 to 2.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I just think before either of the before the 8 or the 4 though, I think the 11 is the better value out of the 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Basin. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but I think Governor Morris is, again, if it wasn't Pletcher, Windstar, that horse would be 10 to 1 or higher.
I mean, we talk about that all the time when it comes to, March Madness. You can put up 2 teams, without the names of looking at their resume, and you're surprised when, everyone says, oh, Duke's the number 1 seed, and then you look at the seed that's, 4th or 5th, and they pretty much stack up just as well.
Right. It's definitely something, but apparently Secretariat won the virtual derby, so that went right for everyone.
Lordy.
Well, I mean, I didn't see it, but how couldn't Secretariat? I mean, He ran 150.
I agree.
And nobody's come close.
I was
to that
saying
time.
who.
Really quick, just before we continue with them heading to the gate, Eddie, what wagers do you have going on right now, and what? And obviously, I believe you said you are through. You had the 11 from last race in the pick 5. So you said you're single to Charlatan on one, and then you're wide in the other.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm still alive in the pick 5. I'm single to Charlatan in one of them, and then I'm everybody but Charlatan in the other. I also have a pick 3 that I'm alive with everybody excluding Charlatan, keyed with Mr. Freeze in the third leg. So
anything vertical here as we go into the gate?
The only thing I did was I did an exacta with the 8 horse. That's it. The 9 horse winning impression.
Vinny, anything vertical? I know you're alive in the pick 5. Anything else on?
Nope. I'm just letting things ride right now with Charlatan. That virtual derby though, it looked like just looking at the way it finished quickly, looked like it was Secretariat over Citation over Seattle Slew. American Pharaoh, it looked like finished 5th. So it was actually a very fun stretch. It was actually a very fun stretch call. It looked like from Larry Colmas. So you'll have to check. Everyone should check that out later.
Where did Spectacular Bid finish?
So that was, I believe that, I don't know if that one's run yet. That one was just, there were two different virtual derbies going. Yeah, there were 2 different ones. That one appeared to just be the one with the Triple Crown winners in it.
Okay.
That Larry Colmas called. There was another one being run by, I wish I remember who, but there was another virtual derby that did have 20 horses in it that Spectacular Bid was in, because I really like Spectacular Bid, as you know.
I could argue that is the greatest horse ever. I'm not going to say that, but I could argue.
Oh, Charlatan with a perfect break.
Seems like we do have some horses that are going to try out and get over from the outside.
Yeah, Charlatan with a perfect break. If he can go the distance, this one's already over.
Yeah,
Nobody's even trying to press him. Bason's sitting in second. He's just going to try to make one move late.
But is
a little quick though. Opening quarter,
too fast.
22. Yeah, 22. That could be a little quick.
I feel like we're watching Gamine right back from that earlier race. We'll have to see who's coming. I did end up betting the 8, who I think might be in a garden spot here with it being fast. It might end up being between him and Bason.
Yeah, they're all sitting good. A 40. He slowed it down to a 46.
But you know what? When you go this fast, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Don't.
That's the thing.
I mean, it was. I guess it wasn't. It was a little. It's a little slower, but he went like 22.88, and then he goes 46.08. So I mean, he really basically just ran 23.23. I mean, if he's the 8 already looks like he's all in.
They're all in.
Bason's all in, and Charlatan hasn't moved.
And he's galloping.
He's a freak. He is a freak. He's about to open up. He is a freak. I mean, Bason looks like he's gonna make him work, but yeah, he's slowing. It looks like he's slowing down a little bit. No, he's gone. He's gone. He is. He's drifted. He drifted though late, but yeah, I mean, this horse is something else. I mean, that's
pretty special.
What was the final? What did that final time come back? 148. Mile was 135. Not bad.
That's pretty solid.
That's how you're supposed to win at 2 to 5.
What's up, Marshall? Oh, he took his headphones off.
Yeah, that's how you're supposed to. And what? I mean, what? I think the 3 logical horses came in behind him. Bason finished second. Gouverneur Morris finished third. And did I think the 9 got up? I think the 9 might have gotten up for 4th on the rail.
Yeah. I think the 9 4th.
Special shout out to Marshall for people who didn't. We were having some technical difficulties. Didn't seem like I was going to be able to switch back and forth. Marshall was coming in right around each time the races to switch back and forth for us. So special shout out to you, my man. Couldn't do this without you.
Mark. Yeah. No, shit. The 9 got up for.
9 got up 4.
Yeah. I mean, So there you go. There you go. I mean, that was the lot. In my opinion, the logical horses came in. That was some effort by. That was a good effort by Charlatan, though. But
So that
already
was,
see. I already see people. I already see people on Twitter though saying, "Not sure if we learned anything from him." And I think the only thing we learned here is that the
He's better.
distance is not an issue.
Well, it's not.
yeah.
It's
The
so hard to say.
question is, who's better than Charlatan right now? Because I don't think anybody is.
That's question one. Question two is distance does matter, but not when you can go 22 and 46 with zero pressure.
Yeah, but
He
also
had pressure getting to 22. He had pressure getting there.
Well, I mean, that was also from the horse coming from the outside of the whole track to get over and cut over. I mean, it was an auto send for Basin. Just this horse is just a monster.
yeah, in like the early part of the race, it looked like the early part of the race, as soon as Basin went over and they didn't press, it looked like they were already content for second.
Mm-hmm.
And like I get like, and that I guess kind of like as a better that's kind of irritating as a fan. I get like I mean I think Charlatan was already the best horse, and that maybe those were the instructions were just sit behind Charlatan and don't let anybody pass you. But right out of the gate, it didn't look like anybody's instructions were go head to head with this horse. It looked like everybody was content on trying to fight for second.
And-
So again, though, like Basin didn't run bad, just not a horse that was going to threaten the win today. Gouverneur Morris again ran what? He ran okay third, but again, not a win.
Some
So
he had a rough trip, but this is the problem when I hear people say that. Okay, so he had another rough trip. He still couldn't get by a horse that was, had to go from, the 11 pole to just get second. And the horse is 4-1 compared to Basin, and the 9 is 20-1. So you're getting, double the price and quadruple the price. If you like Gouverneur Morris, I get it, but this is a really hard spot to take him at 4-1 is what was pretty much the second choice.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, Gouverneur Morris, there was no reason that he couldn't have passed Basin, in my opinion. He was closing on him, and it just, again, nothing negative to say, but if the horse isn't good enough or doesn't have that competitive nature in their head, it just didn't pass the horse, and it should have.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and and that's that's like those are the type of things though where like next time out if Gouverneur Morris is dropping down in class or he's not running against a horse like Charlatan, people are going to be like, oh well, most people are going to be like, oh well, he ran into Charlatan, like he should win in this spot. And it's like, well, he failed to pass a horse who in my opinion really is better around one turn in the stretch. So like he beat Gouverneur Morris beat the best of what was left in that race, which really wasn't much. So
hey, just so you guys know real quick, we're being listened to and watched in Spain from my family.
Oh cool.
Well, hello out in Spain. When you look at the prices too, the double 11-1 paid $490. I'm not saying for people who have bigger bankrolls this is right, but like I talked with JK on the podcast last week, if you're going to direct hit and really hammer something, I know it's hard to play chalk, but if you have a $50 bankroll for the day and you play a $10 double there and you get, 5x your price for something like that, that's interesting. Also, the Exacta paid over $10 for $2 on the wager. So if you can come up with 111 and really hammer the Exacta, there was definitely money to be made when you look at these final prices.
Oh yeah, look at Basin paid $520 to place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have just hammered that and made out like a bandit if you really like. For the people who really liked Basin, like I hope that people played him win in place because you made out good there. $520 to place, like that tells me that like Gouverneur Morris and Honor d'Or had more place money on them than they should have.
Hey, Sven.
Yes, sir.
When can we start talking about my boy, Mr. Freeze? because I can't wait.
we can start right now. Race number 12 is the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap, going 1 1/8 mile. Before we get to your man, Mr. Freeze, let's talk about the number 1 Chess Chief. We'll start off with you, my man, Vinny.
I actually like Chess Chief a bit in this spot underneath. I think he's very interesting. His last race, I think, is much better than it looks on paper. Give me 1 second here. I just accidentally closed it. There we go. Yeah, his last race. Yeah, his last race on paper, I think, is very good. I'm a big fan of By My Standards, so I don't think that third place finish to him was that bad. He was 27-1 in that race as well, which, I mean, he ended up being disqualified to 6th because of some bumping, but he looked really good there. He gets his normal jockey back with Hernandez. I think he fits for underneath.
It was a slow-paced race in that New Orleans handicap, and he was somewhat up on the pace. 4.5 kind of depends. Eddie, thoughts on the 1?
Yeah, I agree with Vinny. I mean, I think he's value underneath. I mean, this is a horse that's raced against some really good company. He came second to Mr. Money several races ago. Came third to Owendale. He's run against the cream of the crop. I don't see him winning, but I could see him hitting the exotics for sure.
I know me and Vinny talked about the jockey for the number 2, Sammy Camacho. He came over here for this exact race with Paco Lopez being off. I guess he has re-injured or re-aggravated his thumb, so he'll be out more towards the end of the month. Eddie, thoughts on the 2 Trophy Chaser?
I mean, please give me 10-1 or more on this horse. I think this horse is the only horse that can beat Mr. Freeze, and he could potentially get a perfect trip sitting right off the speed. Incredibly bred. I'm a huge Candy Ride breeding guy, and his last 2 races off the shelf are tremendous, and his last workout are tremendous. I have nothing but positive things to say about this horse.
Before we get to Vinny, I would just be a little bit nervous when you see the 103 by Paco winning by 8, and then he comes back. It was slow-paced based on time form blue fractions and only winning by a neck. So maybe that when you see that, you have to downgrade that race a little bit to under. It was probably still a high 90, which is still a good number.
Fair point.
Nice workouts. Vinny, thoughts on the 2 Trophy Chaser?
I don't like him at all. I don't like him at all. I think my opinion on this race is that there is a lot of early speed, and I feel like there is a lot of early speed that really needs the lead. I think I know Trophy Chaser in his last 2 has sat off a bit, but those have been against much weaker fields, and I don't think he's going to be I think this horse is going to need the lead today to win. He gets Camacho, who's never ridden him before. I think Camacho is going to have to go to the lead with him. He has been working well, and if any of these speed horses like Trophy Chaser or Mr. Freeze, Warriors Charge, if any of them get clear early, I think any of them could win. But I really don't see a scenario where one of these speed horses gets an easy trip up front, and I think there's going to be a pace meltdown in this race.
He is 9-1 early in the betting with 21 minutes to post. The only other thing, too, that's interesting, Sammy Camacho, very well down in Tampa. Usually we talk about, the jockey hasn't raced here, Flavian, Johnny, but those guys are more like they show up for the big days. Sammy is not one who I think is like, I'm going to go to this track and, try and race against, the Ortiz brothers and stuff. So that might be another negative. We move on to the 3 Bravazzo, 30-1 for Dwayne Lucas, the horse that almost upset the Preakness a couple of years ago. Thoughts, Vinny?
We haven't seen a race like that from him since, really. I'm like, he almost won that Preakness. He was second in that. He ended up being second in that Haskell. He's just a horse. He almost won the Clark. Sorry, his Clark last year. He almost won, but that was a weaker Clark field. he just seems like a horse that doesn't like they don't really know what to do with, and like he's good enough to be running he's good enough to be running against top company and finishing in in the money or like mid pack, but yeah, I don't know. He just hasn't his form just hasn't been great since that 2018 campaign, and I'm off him until he can show that he's back to it.
It's hard to make 2 million when you've only won 3 races. This horse to me just seems to love to hit the board in every big spot that Lucas has been running him. Eddie, thoughts on the 3?
I hate to say this. I think if this horse was handled by somebody other than D. Wayne Lucas, another top trainer, he'd be a special horse. I love D. Wayne, but yeah, this horse at best is maybe going to pick up the pieces and come second, third, fourth, but I can't see him winning. He's obviously running great company and he's made $2 million, but he's going to be an also ran, and that's all I see.
Another key factor is it's the 5th different jockey in 5 races, so they're definitely trying to unlock this horse again. We get to the first horse, 7-2, 6-1 on the morning line, so he's taking some action, Eddie. Let's hear it. What do we got?
It's my play of the day. I mean, are you kidding me? So here's something that I know that Dale Roman said after the Gulfstream Park Mile, and he told me this. I interviewed him. I wrote an article about it, but he asked me not to say it. Had throat surgery in December, and just look at his last 2 races. They're totally different than anything. He came second in the Pegasus. He won pretty easy in the Gulfstream Park Mile. He's working great. I've watched him. I've gone out to see him. Dale loves the way he's moving. He's put on weight. My pick of the day, Mr. Freeze wins for fun.
We will just talk about the Pegasus. It was not the Pegasus everyone thought it was. It wasn't really a grade 1 this year. Have any thoughts on the 4, Mr. Freeze?
I like Mr. Freeze, but I don't like him at this distance. That is kind of my big thing on him. The Gulfstream Park Mile, he was very impressive, but he finished he finished second in the Pegasus, but again, it was him stretching out, and he did set the early pace. In the Clark, again stretching out, he sat on the pace, just couldn't get it done. Even last year at Keeneland, he was second. I feel like his best races have been at the ACAC last year. He looked great. He does have that West Virginia Derby win at 1 1/8, but I think this distance is just a little too far for him, especially with the other. If he was lone speed in here today, I would agree with Eddie that he looks very tough. But with the other speed in here, I think it's going to be awfully tough for any of them to win because, in my opinion, not many of them really want to go 1 1/8. But that's just my take on it.
This is another horse getting his 4th different jockey in 4 races. And the one argument I have for you, Vinny, is a horse that's 4 for 5 in the money at a distance. Maybe he's distance challenged for the win, but he definitely one that I think can hit the board.
Oh, I agree. He could hit the board. I'm not saying he can't hit the board. I'm just for strictly looking for somebody to win. That's kind of in my opinion, I think it's a little too far for him, and just the way I think the dynamics set up for this race, I don't think I can use him to win. But if he wins, it won't shock me if he wins. But I'm not using him to win.
The number 5 identifier, Stuart Elliott, is one of the only jockeys, I believe, in the top 10 of the jockey standings that has a $20 average win bet. The horse is 67-1, so this will obviously help that. Thoughts on this horse coming out of the House Hope, Vinny?
He's a closer. If there is a pace meltdown, he should be coming late. I don't know if he's good enough, but his last, especially in the Hall's Hopeful, he came from the clouds. So, and he came from the clouds at Gulfstream too, which is usually a little tougher to do. Mm-hmm. So, I think if you like him, I would definitely use him in this spot because I think he's going to get the pace set up. The question is if the pace comes back or if the earlier speed speed favoring track takes shape here.
Eddie, thoughts on the 5?
I mean, this is an interesting horse here. I mean, if you look at his earlier form, the horse was always around the lead or on the lead. And now in his last 2 races since changing trainers, he's become a closer. So, I mean, I don't know that I really know how good this horse is, but I think you have to use him because based on, as Vinny said, closing at Gulfstream is really hard, and he came from the clouds. If he can run that same race, and if we have the speed that's probably going to happen here, I mean, yeah, you got to use this horse.
2 words for your early speed comment: the Juice Man. That's all I'm going to say about that. For all of you watching, let's talk about the number 6, a horse that I am super excited to watch. 10 Strike Racing, Marshall Graham and those guys, they do a great job. Very excited. Obviously, with me being part of the In the Money group, always like to root on these types of horses. Thoughts on the 6, Eddie?
Okay, so from February 17th to March 21st, no published works. So that's a concern to me. Mm-hmm. That being said, man, he's working great. I love his work on April 19th. I love seeing a tight work like that and then a little, tightener work after. I think this horse has a chance to go gate to wire. For me, he's my biggest fear to Mr. Freeze because I think he gets to the front, and let's see what happens.
Any thoughts on the front-running Warriors charge?
I actually think he's the best of the speed. I say that for this specific distance, I think he is the best of the speed. He is shown to be a fighter in the stretch and be very stubborn, especially last year in the Preakness, where is kind of where he burst onto the scene, where he almost took that group gate to wire at 12-1. He did end up finishing 4th. But yeah, I mean, you take the Preakness out, this horse is he's got 4 wins in a row at a mile and a 16th. So the stretch out to mile and an 1/8 today, I don't think will be an issue. He gets a Flow Jock back on for the 3rd time in a row. I think he's the best of the speed, and if he can get out by himself, he's going to be very tough to pass in the stretch. If there is pressure, though, I think he like he did in the Preakness, he might cough it up late. But I'm expecting him to be there.
I feel like we're going to have a talk after this race again on how, now this isn't a 3-year-old prep, but Flow again, just going to the leads. Not that this horse doesn't usually, but he'll get the horse on the lead. He'll win gate to wire again. And once again, Florent Geroux is just walking away with another, accolade to his name. I think that the race 2 back, you have to downgrade a little bit with it being a slow pace. But like Vinny said, the Razorback was fantastic. He's been working out lights out, and it's always good to see Flow on a speed horse. The number 7, Combatant, we had talked about with Benny earlier, how he had not like the Combatant race out of the San Anita handicap. Thoughts on the 7 here at 6-1, Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, my boy Rosario's on this horse. Incredible improvement in his last 2 races off the layoff and change of trainers from Asmussen to Sadler, which is kind of shocking, and unbelievable workouts. This horse is definitely going to be there come to wire, and I think if there's a horse that can beat Mr. Freeze, this is the only one.
Real quick before we go to Vinny, too, the stat for me with John Sadler is he is the only, I believe, let me see here, he is in the top 5, but he is 20% winners, 50% in the money, and he is the only trainer to have over a $10 win average, and he has definitely been the much better route trainer so far at this meet.
Didn't know that.
Vinny, thoughts on the 7?
I like Combatant. I didn't realize I thought he was. I heard the other day that he was going to scratch, so the fact that he's still in here was kind of surprising to me this morning. I like him a lot, and I think you have to. And not only do you have to elevate him today because Rosario is on him, and Rosario's having a heck of a day, but we just watched Endorse win earlier on the card and win fairly. Like he won fairly easily, and I actually played Endorse. Part of the reason I loved Endorse was because he was coming out of the Santa Anita handicap, which I thought I thought eye test wise looked better than the speed fig that Combatant got at the 101 speed fig. So I mean, I think he fits. I think the only knockback I would put on Combatant is that he is cutting back in distance, and I think I think that 1.25 mile distance was perfect for him. Whereas he's over 3 at the 1.125 distance, but again, that was a different trainer. But that would be my only negative on him. I think he fits perfectly.
Orlando Mojica, Robertino Diodoro on the 8 Sky Promise already have one horse paying over $50 today. Anything quick to say here, or is this mostly just pass and move on?
Deep closer. If you're playing supers and tries, I think he's a price that could hit underneath. But for win, I think he'd need a lot of things to go right.
Eddie, thoughts?
I agree. I think the biggest positive is that he's getting weight, and so he could pick up pieces and come second, third, or fourth. But that's all.
My favorite horse to quote unquote shit on, the number 9 Tacitus. Me and Vinny have talked about this horse off camera. I just don't see what all the fuss is about. This is the horse that always seems to get into trouble and never can get it done. Eddie, thoughts on the number 9 Tacitus?
Well, I know that Vinny loves this horse, so I'm going to try to be as kind as I can. I can't use him. For me, he's a hard charging horse. He's going to come second, third, and fourth a lot. He's not going to win. He's not a winner. And again, you got a big break in his workouts from February 17th to April 15th. No works. I hate that angle. So, and his work since then are average at best. I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen with this horse. I like the horse, but he's not going to win, and I'm not using.
Quick, before we get to you, Vinny, he is the co-favorite right now between him and Mr. Freeze. Let's hear your love song here on Tacitus.
He's not my top pick in here today, actually. He's my second choice. It hurt me a lot to put him second. I actually think he's going to have a great year. I think his early schedule, though, I think they used the Saudi Cup as a prep for the Dubai World Cup, and I think he would have dominated the Dubai World Cup if he got to run it. Unfortunately, it was canceled. I think this horse wants 1.25 miles, and that's why I didn't put him on top today. I think he's going to have a similar campaign this year that Vino Rosso did last year, where the 1.25 mile races, he's going to show up and run huge. In the 1.125 races, he's just going to, like you said, he's going to be second or third. So I won't be surprised if he wins today, but I'm expecting a in the money finish from him today.
Yeah.
Captivating Moon, the 10, Julian Leparoux, 25-1 for trainer Chris Block, coming out of that New Orleans handicap that we seem to like to talk about here.
Yeah, he ran good in the New Orleans handicap. Again, like you brought up, it was a slower pace, but he did run very good in that race. I believe that was his career best buyer, 94. I think he need to do more to win it. He got a great setup in that race though and couldn't get it done, but I'm passing on him. But for his current odds, I'm not going to talk anybody off of him.
Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, good horse. I don't think he's in the class of this field. I was impressed that he closed into the New Orleans handicap because they went 114 and 137, and he closed into that speed, slow speed. So, he could pick up pieces and come up in tries and supers, but that's the only way I could use him.
The number 11 tax, Kendrick Carmouche, Danny Gargan. This was a horse that everyone loved on the New York scene. Always been a fan of this horse. Just never seemed to get to where everyone thought he would go. Eddie, your thoughts?
Yeah. This is my wild card horse. This horse right here. Number one, I loved him in the Travers, loved him in the Jim Dandy. Made out pretty well with him in there. Had some time off, big time off, breaks and works, but his works in March 26th and April 3rd, really solid works, some nice tighteners leading up to it. I think this horse could blow up the board and maybe not win, but he can definitely come second or third. Love his chances.
Have any quick thoughts on tax? We have 5 minutes to post.
I don't like Tax at all. I think I really don't. I don't like him at all. I've never liked him. His Jim Dandy, I still think he got insanely lucky that Tacitus nearly fell at the break. And since
Going
then,
back to Tacitus, your favorite
right,
horse.
but he ran what in the Travers. You can use the 12 post as an excuse, but he ran awful that day. The Discovery, he lost the Discovery to Performer, who Performer is a good horse, but he was nowhere near as classy as Tax was. And then in the Pegasus, people liked he was bet down the 4-1 in the Pegasus, and he beat one horse. I mean, he finished behind War Story in the Pegasus. Like, come on. I can't play this horse. He seems to be his wins come when he's right on the pace, and I don't think that's going to happen today because I don't think he's that quick out of the gate to compete with horses like Warrior's Charge, Mr. Freeze early on. And those seem to be the races where he gets shuffled back and kind of just gets lost in the shuffle. Like the Pegasus, he ended up being 6th early. He did nothing. The Travers, he was on the pace, but he wasn't first. He sat 2nd early. Then he was passed for 3rd midway through the race, and he faded. I just don't think he's quick enough early, and I think that he's just going to be sitting behind horses.
All very fair points.
Anything for the number 13 Night Ops? We're going to skip the 12 for right now. If anybody has anything quick to say about the 13 Night Ops.
Live long shot.
Yeah, I agree. Nice work 2 back. And again, I don't think it can win, but it can definitely come 2nd or 3rd.
I mean, Cox throws him in here with Warrior's Charge, which is always so the other Cox horse, which will definitely be the tweet if this one wins. So.
Well, so is Warrior's Charge a rabbit?
I don't think so, but I mean, you have 2 horses, 2 different styles. It doesn't hurt if Warrior's Charge makes a fast pace and his press sets up perfectly for Night Ops. If Warrior's Charge gets out by himself, Night Ops probably doesn't have a great pace to close into. But the fact that he entered both in here though tells me that this horse he's live.
We have
maybe live, but I mean, I don't think he's classy or good enough to win the race.
I agree with that. I think it would take a lot for him to win, but as a long shot though.
We have 1 minute to post. Let's talk about the 12. Eddie, we'll start with you, but afterwards, just talk about your wagers real quick as they are going to start heading to the gate very shortly.
Okay, so By My Standards is a horse that I know from people on Twitter and people that I know at the track. They love the horse. I'm not a huge believer in the horse. That said, man, his works are really leading up to me, a big race. I'm scared that this horse can win because I did not use him at all, except for underneath. So I can't blame anybody for making him the top play at all. But my plays are, I've got Mr. Freeze, the 4-horse, and I'm using him over the 2, 7, and 12. Those and 13. Those are my main plays.
Are you also alive in the pick 5, and who do you have in this leg?
The pick 5, I'm only alive with Mr. Freeze,
Okay.
the 4.
Vinny, I know you like this horse. Talk about him real quick, and then your plays as well.
I really like by my standards. I mean, his last bad race was the Kentucky Derby, where he did not have a good. It was not his day. His for 2 starts this year. Yeah, you can say the New Orleans Handicap was a slow pace race, but I mean, he won that thing in a hand ride. I think he's setting up for a very big year. My concern with him is the pedigree, but he's already proven he can go 1 mile and an eighth. So I really think this is a 2-horse race between Tacitus and By My Standards. So I could be completely off here, but those are my 2. Those are the 2 I'm alive to in the pick 5, and I'm gonna just play them. I'm gonna play them in an exacta, and hope I'm right that they are the top 2 in here.
Good luck to the rest of you out there as they start heading to the gate. I am win dutching a little bit here on the 6 and 7. Just played them both to win. Mr. Freeze is obviously just as scary. I'm surprised that Tacitus did not take more money, and the 12 being on the outside. We've seen the last few races. It seems like all the horses on the outside seem to be having, some success. So definitely a horse that I am a little bit nervous with the 2 blue fraction races, Benny, but I think this race is very live, and I think no matter what here, you're going to get a really good price on a horse.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a race, and this was another race though for your pick 5 sequence. If you had a strong opinion, I mean, I really like 2 horses here, but this is a race where I'm sure on a lot of deep tickets, people just hit that all button in this race because it's a very competitive race.
I feel like for me, even if you go back to if you were playing a pick 3 sequence, it feels like you had to go 5 single 5 in that type of way, and Charlatan just takes all the value out of it.
Right. Exactly. He does. So that's, and this is where, I had strong opinions on By My Standards and Tacitus. So, I played it for a few bucks because, I already had a single and then I was only going too deep here. So, I mean, if I'm wrong about him, okay. I mean, like we said, like this race is very competitive. It's just the way I saw the race, shaping up, it favored those 2.
Trophy chaser getting that down is interesting.
Seems like 12 was going to try and get over, got caught up a little bit. It looks like
Warriors charge. So look, you have your lone speed horse. Mr. Freeze didn't go. Trophy Chaser didn't go. They're letting Warriors charge, set the pace like that. See, that's not what I saw on paper. I thought that other horses would need the lead, but By My Standards is sitting very nice in second.
I am not going to lie, the all blue saddle cloths really threw me off there for a minute.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm not. I hate all.
Warriors may go gate the wire.
He could, and that's what I said. If any of those speed horses got loose on the lead, they could easily go gate the wire. And I mean, he's setting soft fractions for him. 40.
This is really slow.
Yeah, I mean, he almost ran a 47 there. But if By My Standards is as anything, he should be all right. Tax is making an early move. It looks like.
I mean, they're already on the 4. Mr. Freeze is going, and they haven't really. I mean, now they're starting to scrub.
Yeah, I mean, this
is what we pretty much thought, except for Tax. I mean, I don't see Tacitus. Tacitus is coming late.
Yeah, Tacitus is coming late. I mean, if By My Standards can get by him. 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 Finish this. Finish this. Boom. Let's go. Let's go.
At By My Standards?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. That was my. I think I said it to you. I think I said it
You
to
did.
you, Spencer. I think I said it to you last night, Spencer. I think this horse has a legit shot at horse of the year. And I think that puts him on. I think this race is going to put him on a lot of people's radar for a legit shot at horse of the year.
Vinny, that's a great pick by you. I mean, I fell in love with Mr. Freeze, but great pick by you, bro.
Yeah, I loved him.
For what you see in the race, I mean, we all hit the try, and I mean, this try is going to pay pretty damn good if I say so myself. Not that there's a bomb in there, but just it is 3 logicals, but just a really well run race, very fun race.
Well,
we would have had the super too.
Mr. Freeze came what, third?
Third.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze finished third. Tacitus finished fourth again at a mile and an eighth.
Which is what Tacitus is going to do every time he runs.
I'm waiting for him to go back to a mile and a quarter, and that's why I really liked him for the Dubai World Cup, because I think that's his distance, and I think he got very unlucky in the Travers that Code of Honor was just loaded.
Vinny, how about putting him on turf? Put him on turf and let him run a mile and an eighth, a mile and a quarter.
Yeah.
To me, he screams turf. Really does.
Solid pick there by you, Vinny. It seems like every single week we're going to have these. We're going to have a couple people get hot. I know Benny was hot early on. He hit both exactas today. You've got that top winner there. We pretty much all hit. And it's not that hitting the superhero is big deal or not, and it is all, pretty logical horses, but nice on top pick there, beating the favorites at 9. It's a really good race. Should be interesting now if you can get through this second to last leg here. What your payout? It's going to get quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only alive to Nadal and Farmington Road in my pick 5.
All right,
so
we're going pretty skinny here.
Yeah, I went skinny, but again, that was the next running here was another one where I thought I could go skinny, and that's why I actually ended up using all in the last leg of my multis, was because I just had strong. I was only 2 or 3. I was like 1, 2, or 3 deep in every leg, where it was just like, oh, like this ticket's going to cost me nothing, so let me play a 50-cent one for a good amount, and then let me play a $2 one with just using my top couple of picks in each race.
Give me a second, guys.
You got it, my man. Take your time. So right now I'm just looking really quick. It's surprising. I was thinking that a lot of the horses, Vinny, coming in had been pretty on top of the pace, but the first 2 races that we had watched were 5 by a head and 4 by 4 at the quarter pole. So it's interesting to see that. It seems like you still need to be up and on the pace, or at least stalking, to have any chance of winning today.
I agree with that, and that was kind of that was that's kind of what we talked about there, and that was kind of that in that race, like we said, like the pace, Warriors Charge ended up coughing it up late. I think it was a little too far for him, but yeah, that's what you want to be. That's where you want to be. I don't think you want to be too far back, which is actually why I used Nadal at all, was because Oaklawn, I feel like the last few weeks has been playing more towards the front runners rather than the deep closers. So
solid $11. The exacta pays $40 for a buck. The 50-cent try was over $100. The 10-cent super was $82. Not too bad. The 50-cent pick 3 only paid $18.
Yeah, but I mean, again, though, I like that one wasn't. I went. My ticket was $2. Nope, $4, I think, on that.
So
for 50 cents. So I mean, I'll take that return all day on that. I had it for $4. So I mean, the return wasn't bad because I used 7. I went 7-11 in the first leg. I singled Charlatan, and then I used 9 and 12 in that leg. So I was 2 by 1 by 2. So I didn't break the bank to play it. Yeah, it's not the best payout, but I'll take that. I also played by.
Go ahead there. You said you were gonna play by my standards, or you thought?
Yeah, I played him. No, I played him. I played him to win. Weird. The Naira bet. So I have my. I'm looking at like my results and my tickets. The pick 3 went in already, like as a winning ticket. But the win bet I placed on him did not go in yet. No, yeah, still didn't go in yet. Weird.
So, as Eddie's making all types of noise over there, let's talk real quick.
Sorry, I've got chips going. I gotta eat, man. I gotta eat a little bit.
He's got to get his blood sugar up, apparently. Let's talk about the second Arkansas Derby here. Number 1, Finnick the Fierce for Ray Hernandez on the rail for Martin Garcia.
I don't. I think he's outclassed here. Wouldn't be. He's run good over the surface though, so that's always elevated. I mean, 65-1 right now. You're getting tremendous value, and I'm not going to talk anybody off him at that price. But I do think he's a little outmatched. Going to need to show a lot of speed early, I think, to have a good position. I'm going to pass on him, but again, not going to talk anyone off him.
Eddie, talk about the 1, Finnick the Fierce.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to look at. His best races are on the wet track. I think he might be a little bit overmatched. Good horse, but I'm not going to use him either.
I find it interesting when you look, just talking about jockey standings right now. Martin Garcia, Joe Talamo, 2nd and 3rd behind Santana. Neither of them with a win today, so they're kind of cold so far today, hoping to see if they can pick it up towards the end. The number 3, Storm the Court for Flavian Pratt, Peter Urton. This is the horse that obviously blew up the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. This is a horse that I just seem to think will always be running the Tacitus numbers and will always be 2nd and 3rd, but never good enough to get a win. What are your thoughts, Eddie?
I actually agree with everything you just said. And, I mean, I think we can all look back at the Breeders' Cup, and it was a pretty weak field. He won, so you can't take anything away from that. He's working out pretty well, but if he wins this race, I'm going to lose because I'm not using him. I think he's a good horse. I just don't think he's a grade 1, grade 2 horse moving forward.
Vinny, thoughts on Storm the Court? I'm guessing they're going to be pretty negative from what
I mean, he did run better than I thought he would in his last race. So that is kind of like a positive. That said, I think he would need another bit. I think there's others that are improving in here that I like more than Storm the Court. But if I'm playing tries and supers in this race, like whereas the last time I completely tossed him, he would be on my try and super ticket in this one.
I've actually forgotten that it is the last day for Oaklawn Park, and they're giving out. Diodoro just got the trainer award. Eminem.
Is it really? I didn't realize that either.
Because they're giving out awards already. I'm guessing Santana's already gotten the jockey one as well. Something that's interesting before we get on to King Guillermo, because we got 27 minutes to post, and I don't think there's a lot to talk about in this race for 27 minutes. When you're looking at horses, certain horses, they fit as contenders on the win end, and then you can find horses that mostly fit underneath. A lot of people, they'll just go in there trying to find the one horse that wins. For beginning players, its key element will be trying to, separate horses. And I think once you get down to your contenders, it's very key to separate the horses into horses underneath and horses that can win.
Agreed.
Well, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. Vinny, is that to you? You go first.
Oh, no, you go. You go, Ed. You're good.
Yeah, here's where I look at it this race. Nadal is obviously a standout. But if you look at Nadal, he's run against 5, 6, and 8 horses in his 3 races. King Guillermo has run against at least 11 horses every race he's run in, and some very tough company. He is my pick in this race. I think he sits right off the lead. He doesn't need the lead. There's a lot of speed in this race, and I think Camacho came out to ride this horse, and I got nothing else to say that I really like the horse.
It's always good to see, Vinny, when you see a horse with 4 consecutive races with improving buyers. I find it hysterical also that the connection said they were going to train the horse up to the Derby, which would have been today. Gosh forbid this horse obviously wins this race and he wasn't put up against Charlatan. But I can just imagine if this horse somehow beats Charlatan or gets a bigger number today, what exactly people will be saying. Just a very interesting thing. What are your thoughts on the 4, King Guillermo?
I'd like him, and I think you have to. I think you have to use him. That 99. I don't think that 99 buyer was a joke. I think that was a legit. That was a legit buyer. I think you have to use him. He's run very good in every start. Nadal, Nadal, unlike Charlatan passes both the eye test and the figs test. When you look at his figs, I mean, we'll see what that Arkansas Derby comes back. I have a feeling it's going to be another triple-digit buyer, though. But whereas Charlatan's passed both those, Nadal is passing the eye test, but his figs are not coming back strong. And whereas, I think a 99 is better than anything Nadal has run, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like for the value here, I don't like the layoff from the Tampa Bay Derby to the Kentucky Derby, which would have been today, but now here we are. But I do like that he's running here today because they put this horse right after that race. They said that's what we're doing. So this horse has been prepping to run on this day since March 7th. So I think he's live, and I mean the fact that right now, he's 9-1 right now.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. That's just tremendous value. I obviously I don't have him on my pick my pick 5 ticket, but I wish I did because that's amazing value, and I think he is live.
It'll be interesting to know if people who can break down tickets, Tony Zhou, those type of guys, if 9-1 in the wind end, I wonder where he is in the pick 5 right now. Eddie, let's talk to you about the number 5, Nadal. 1-5 early in the betting with 23 minutes to post. Is 3 for 3. Could he possibly want a better performance than Charlatan?
I really like Nadal. I'm not sure that Nadal wants to go this far. Granted, $700,000 purchase, but breeding wise, I don't know that he wants to go 1.1 miles, or 1.25 miles, or 1.5 miles. I just don't think he wants to go this far. And watching the replays of his races, his action coming home, just from my eye, I don't like it. I think it's a special horse. I think he could be a grade-winning horse, but for this race, I like the 4, King Guillermo, better than I like the 5.
Vinny, thoughts on the over bet right now, Nadal at 1-5?
Oh, for that price, it's ridiculous. But I mean, I think you have to. I think he's passed every test so far. So I mean, I was against him in the. I was against him in the San Vicente. I was against him in the Rebel, and he proved me wrong both times. I'm done losing to him. The way the track's playing today sets up great for him. I don't think there's a ton of early speed in here, whereas he has early speed. So I think he's going to get a great spot. He's been working out great. I know something that on Twitter people talk about those Bob Baffert 6 furlong works.
Mm-hmm.
6 furlongs 111, 5 furlongs 59, 6 furlongs 111, 5 furlongs 59. He couldn't look any better coming in here. 1-5 though, I do think is a little ridiculous, but I'm still on him.
We look at the number 6 Code Runner, 50-1 on the morning line, 86-1 in the pari-mutuel betting right now. Asmussen, Stuart Elliott. Thoughts, Vinny? Just pass and go.
Yeah, I think this one is overplaced because of the connections and the price they paid for him. I just don't think he's a very good horse.
Eddie, thoughts on the 6.
Yeah, I totally agree with Vinny. I'm a pass on this horse. They paid too much for him. Maybe a good allowance horse, but that's it.
The number 7 Silver Prospector. Benny had talked about earlier how even with that bad last race, he looked fantastic 2 races back. And this is the type of horse that can, spice up some more exotics. I think that for what your guys' King Guillermo is, with the 7 being the same price, this is kind of like what my King Guillermo is for you guys. The number 7 Silver Prospector, Vinny, thoughts?
I like him actually. He's actually on my pick 3 that I started last race with By My Standards. So I am happy with that. I am happy with him. I think getting back to the dry track, I think Benny said that earlier. I think that really is key because I think I don't know if I said it to you or if I posted it on Twitter going into that last race on a wet track.
Yeah.
I was skeptical of it because he did have the one decent race on a wet track, but his other races were not great on a wet track. So I don't think he likes a wet track. I think he wants a dry track. So I think we're going to see the real Silver Prospector today. Now, if that's good enough to win, it will be seen. But I think he is a very logical player.
Any thoughts here on the 7, Eddie?
I go back and forth with this horse. Was the Southwest who he is, or was that an outlier? He's come back from the Rebel, worked really well, really impressive works, actually. He's bred well for the distance. I give him a shot. I mean, I'm not using him on top, but I totally believe if he wins, it's not a surprise at all.
What odds would you need to play this horse on top? He's 8-1 right now. You need something like 15-1, 12-1.
I'll take 8-1 on the horse. I'll put a little something on him.
Okay. Quickly going on to the number 9, Tayshawn. David Cohen, Richard Baltus, coming out of the Oaklawn 200K listed stake on April 11th. Your thoughts, Eddie?
Sterling, I'm not looking at it. What are the odds on Tayshawn right now?
He is 70-1.
70?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to bet on him.
7-0.
I'm betting on this horse. I love his last work. I love his breeding. He's won at Oaklawn. I hate that Rosario isn't riding him, but yeah, I'm gonna have a little something on him, and I think that he can fit in the exotics. I'm not saying he's gonna win, but he's a classy horse, and he's got the right style for this track, so I'm gonna use him.
Before we get to you, Vinny, now this is a good question for you, Eddie. The last 2 races obviously were on sloppy tracks, and you ran his top 2 buyers. Now, do you think that are you looking for do you think it's maturity and that he'll improve and run upper 80s to a 90, or do you think that the wet track might have moved him up a little bit?
Well, I think being out of a Candy Ride sire, the wet track definitely moved him up a little bit. I mean, I think this horse may be better set for the turf as well. Mm-hmm. But I think he learned off his last 2 races, winning and then going up against States Company. So I give him a shot as a long shot. That's all.
Your thoughts, Vinny?
I mean, I think as a long shot, I don't know if he's gonna win, but I would use this horse definitely to underneath right now on exactas and trifectas, especially at 70-1, which I think that's ridiculous. I think. So you just have to go back 2 races. Basin finished. He finished in front of Basin last time in the Oaklawn Stake.
Yep.
And Basin just came back to run Basin just came back to run a solid second there to Charlatan, who like obviously is just a freak. But so here you have a horse that finished in front of Basin, and you're getting what, like times like 9 on the value for him against a horse, like against a field that doesn't have Charlatan in it.
Yeah.
I think he's anything over 20 to 1. I think on him is worth playing. At 70 to 1, like I might actually throw a few bucks on him to place and show, because that's
Vinny
ridiculous.
and he beat Tiz Magician too.
Yeah, I mean that the thing with Tiz Magician is that, I no disrespect there to the Magic Mike crew who have him on their fantasy team, and I know Magic, I believe they're both part owners with the My Racehorse
And I didn't
syndicate.
mean
Yeah, no, but I just think that was kind of the same reason I didn't like Anu D'Or, is that Robert B. Lewis is coming back very weak, and so I'm not sure what Tiz Magician has run against really besides Honor AP.
fair point.
Let's talk about another horse that I know you liked, Vinny, the 10 Farmington Road. Javier Castellano coming in for Todd Pletcher.
Yeah, he caught a rough trip in that Oaklawn Stake, which, I mean, Basin came back to run decent out of it, so I think that's gonna be an okay race to look at. He had a very tough trip. He wasn't gonna catch Mr. Big News, who had a great trip, but he was coming late. He seems like a horse who wants more distance, surprisingly enough, with his pedigree at a quality road, which is very surprising to me. I'm not a big quality road sire fan.
Mm-hmm.
I always think his horses are going to be distance challenged, but this horse seems to want more distance. So I don't think he doesn't get the more distance today, but third time in a row now at a 1 1/8. I think he's a live shot, and if the speed doesn't, if Nadal goes to the early lead and he can't hold on, or Wells Bay, who we're talking about next, goes to the early lead and they can't hold on, he'll be coming.
Thoughts on the 10, Eddie?
Yeah, Farmington Road. He's kind of the wise guy horse, I think, in this race. A lot of people have been talking about him. If he breaks well, I think I give him a big shot. But I don't like him coming from the clouds. I mean, Oaklawn, you've seen, you can't win coming from the clouds. I think he can pick up some pieces and maybe come second or third. But I don't see him winning, but I give him a shot if he breaks well.
The number 11, Wells Bayou, is it flow to the lead again in one of these 3-year-old prep races, Eddie, or is this horse just a little bit too far outside with Nadal probably going to get the early jump on him?
Well, we're going to find out real quickly with this horse, because he has to go. He's outside. If he, I don't know that he clears, but I love speed outside versus being inside against the rail if you're matching up against a couple of horses. So I think the horse can relax a little bit better outside. I think this is a really big improving horse. Well-bred, well-handled. Brad Cox is with him. Is he better than Nadal? We're going to find out real quickly, because this horse impressed me a lot in the Louisiana Derby. So I'm definitely using him. I want to bet him to win, but I can't.
Vinny, thoughts on the 11?
I won't be surprised if he wins, but I completely tossed him, honestly. As good as he was in the Louisiana Derby, I don't think that Louisiana Derby was very strong. I think his race, the Southwest, against where he lost the lead, the Silver Prospector, after running, he had everything his way up front in the Southwest, and he lost the lead to Silver Prospector late. So I mean, if Silver Prospector freaked that day, okay, but I don't know if he can win with a faster pace, and that is kind of my concern with him, is that that Louisiana Derby was pretty slow, 48 half, then they went 112, 137, they finished in 156. It was a mile and 3/16, but also only it came back lower than the Southwest, which I didn't like. So I looked elsewhere, but he's one, if Nadal doesn't break well, and because he's going to the lead, like Eddie said, there's no doubt in my mind that they're sending this horse from the 11 hole. If he gets out and Nadal doesn't break well or something like that, like he could do what Warriors Charge almost did in the last race, just take him gate the wire if nobody presses him.
Nadal is coming back up the odds board now, 3-5. We're 10 minutes early, which is kind of nice for once. I do want to say a special thank you, first off, to Marshall Sterling. Me and him kind of came up with this idea a few weeks ago. He has been the one trying to teach me to use all of the editing software and all that. So a special shout out to him. Special shout out to Benny South Street, Sean Alvarez, and Hunter Llewellyn for helping with the first half of the card. Guys had some great picks, lots of fun stories. Go back and listen to that. I think we'll keep it up on YouTube for a couple days, and then it won't be there anymore. Special thanks to you guys. Vinny, thanks a lot for coming around for the second week. Eddie, thanks for reaching out. Pleasure to have you on the program so far. Anything on this? Right now we have Nadal at 3-5. The 4 is 6-1. The 11 is 7-1. The 7 is 7-1, and the 10 is 8-1. Is there any horse here that you think will come down a little bit more on the odds, or are we pretty much where we're going to be for the rest of the 9 minutes here?
I hope that some horses come down here, because I think the price on Nadal right now, I just saw Mike Somich tweeted out, anything lower than 2-1 on him is crazy, and I agree. I mean, I'm not saying he's not the best horse on paper in this race, because I think he is, but I mean, he doesn't lay over this field like Charlatan pretty much laid over the other Arkansas Derby field on paper. If he doesn't bring his A race, he's not winning today. So,
I mean, I got to go back to this. Nadal has raced against 7, 6, and 8 horses in California. And Guillermo has raced against 11 horses or more in every race. To me, that experience matters. I'm not saying that Guillermo is better than Nadal, but experience-wise, he's better than Nadal. And price-wise and value-wise, I got to play the 4.
Yeah, I do like that Nadal has been battle tested, but I mean, like you saw, like we talked about earlier, he beat Ginobili at 7 furlongs, and Ginobili earlier showed that he wants no part in stretching out. The Rebel was impressive, but again, I don't know how much was in that Rebel. So 3-5 right now is so short.
Sole Volante.
I'm a big Sole Volante fan, so I'm kind of biased towards that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I like King Guillermo for being able to win a race that has more horses. There are only 9 horses in here though, so Nadal beating 8 horses is not, it's kind of hard to knock him when this field only has 9 and it's not like a full field of like 12 or 14.
Fair point.
We'll say I'm looking at the post parade right now, and Tayshaun on his toes prancing around. Nadal looked absolutely fantastic, and I'm not one for horse flesh, but when I see them walk around like he was, I think he's going to be on his game. I think he's ready to go. The 57-1 on is just
he is the value right now on the board. I mean, even if you're
Tayshaun?
like he is, yeah. I mean, that is like he is that is the definition of being forgotten about on the board.
57-1, are you kidding?
Yeah, that is the definition of being forgotten on the board. I mean, I will be shocked if he doesn't outrun 50-1. Even if he finishes like 5th and he's not in the money, I bet he's I bet it's a close photo for third, 4th, and 5th, and
Vinny,
right there.
Vinny, I mean, I'm not doing this to promote myself, but on my notebook picks, I do have 4-9 as my top two selections. Tayshaun
I
being
believe,
the
yeah, I believe you do. And like I have my top two in here are Nadal and Farmington Road. But
Yeah.
that's but I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I take Sean at this value right now. I think is unreal. That is tremendous. That is just tremendous value.
I want to bring it back.
I just did an exacta box Farmington Road, Tayshaun, and King Guillermo, and I threw out Nadal just for value.
I want to bring it back real quick. We talked about Mike Somich saying 2-1 on Nadal. For people who don't use a real odds line or don't try and make their own, you try and figure out of 100 races how many times the horse will win. Well, 2-1 is 33 times out of 100. So this horse right now being under even money, which would be 50%, people right now think that this horse is a 50% or more winner of this race, and I just think that's crazy compared to Tayshaun, who they think is only going to win twice out of 100.
100%.
Yep,
Totally agree with. I mean, and
even
Nadal may win for fun. We don't know that. He may win for fun, but you got to look for value.
It's and
even right now, what Wells Bayou at 7-1, like that.
He may go gate the wire.
Value.
He may go gate the wire.
Yeah, like this is, like whereas Charlatan I thought was a good heavy bet favorite. I think Nadal is I think a very vulnerable favorite here.
Very
even
much
though
so.
I have him on top, I mean I don't think he's a lock like Charlatan was.
we have a guy.
Charlatan. Charlatan proved that he could be. I'm not going to say justified, but he could be a very special horse.
We have a guy in the chat, Dead Shots, New England fan man. I'm with Eddie. Can't bet against Bapper, but if I did, it's the number 11 Wells Bayou. It's going to be interesting, too. People talk about, well, you got to bet the value. Well, people don't, I think, understand what the word value means anymore. The word value is not so much that people who need to keep track of your betting, of your plays. If you know that you're positive betting a horse like Nadal and you're going to make, that little 5-6% on betting those types of horses, then that might be value to you. But for a lot of us, we're not that good at handicapping. We're only going to pick 1 in 5, 1 in 4 races properly. So we can't play those 2-1 shots. We're trying to, get that, profit margin up, 10% plus. And it's difficult. So when you play a horse like the 7, the 10, 11, or the 6, they're going to pay $14. Those horses are only supposed to hit 1 out of 5 times. So that
so Spencer, here's an interesting thing. I do this a lot, just for a small money play, but there's nothing wrong with betting a couple of dollars to show on some of these horses in this race, in case Nadal doesn't hit the board, in case Silver Prospector doesn't hit the board, because you may get $8, $10, $12 to show on a horse.
And we talked about the last race with Basin paying $5.20. The only problem with it is people will do that without keeping a record. So what I'm telling you is, if you're going to play just place bets or across the board bets, just do it in a 20 race cycle. See where you're at after 20 races. What they tell us in the old handicapping books is do it for 5 20 race packages, so 100 races in total, and see if you're actually going to be profitable with that angle. Now, the bad thing is, for people who have smaller bankrolls, you are going to lose, you might have a chance of just busting out of your bankroll trying to win with one method. But for most of us, if you do the first 20 race cycle and you're up a little bit, okay, maybe you can start, implementing that into your, strategy. But if you're way below and you're trying to play horses like Nadal and you're 0 for your last 6, you're probably just not right on those types of horses, and it's time to just figure out a way to beat them or skip the race.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Vinny, what do you have going into this race real quick? We're a minute to post. I'm sure they're going to circle a few more times.
I need either Nadal or Farmington Road to be alive for the pick 4. And then I have a pick 3. I had a pick 3 going that I started last race with by my standards that I have Nadal, Silver Prospector, and Farmington Road.
Did you have a pick 5 going too, or was it a pick 4 all along? Did I mishear you earlier?
Oh, sorry, it's a pick 5.
Yeah, okay.
It's a 50. Yeah, it's a 50-cent pick 5. Sorry.
Eddie, what do you have in this race?
I just started new horizontals, but I need King Guillermo, or I threw out Nadal,
Okay.
so I need King Guillermo, Tayshawn, or Farmington Road to start,
Okay.
and we'll see where that goes.
And you're just playing obviously doubles with only one race left, and you are dead now in your pick five.
Yeah, I lost my pick 5, but I'm playing doubles with the 5 and 9.
Very good as they keep circling. It's always interesting with Oaklawn too, with it being the last day for Oaklawn Racing, that 1.75 mile race. I mean, after such a long 13 race card, we've been going since around 10 minutes to 1 today with the live stream. I mean, it's a long day of racing.
Yeah, it is.
We talk about Gulfstream, the 15 race cards, and they're starting at 10:30 in the morning. Travers Day. Me and Vinny did stuff for the Gallop last year. I was there at 8:30 in the morning getting ready for work. I said, let me go do this quick half an hour live stream. We knocked out all the stake races. Is it time to just not have 13 race cards and just really keep it down to 10, and that way or is it better to have these longer race cards where they're going all day?
Yeah, I got a big belief on this. I think what's happening, and it's starting to happening at Saratoga, and I hate it, but stop doing 12, 13, 14 race cards. Let's do 10, 11 maybe, and let the stakes races happen during the week as well. That's what Saratoga was known for. You used to go to Saratoga, and there was a graded stake race every day, and now they're just loading it up Travers Day, Whitney Day, and stuff like that. Stop doing that. Spread it out. That's where the quality comes.
The argument with that would be that handle is always amazing on those couple of days, but I tend to agree with you because when you look at it, we have these, and it's been said, we have the optional, 49 winners to 2 lifetime when people would rather be seeing stake races. I do find it more difficult to play during the races during the week like that, though, because a lot of people wait for Saturday and Sunday to go out to Saratoga. Vinny, your thoughts on that?
My thing is, I don't think it's the issue with how many races are on the card. It's the amount of time between the races that drags it out. I mean, you see some of these smaller tracks, they'll have 10 race cards and the thing is over in 3 hours or 3 or 4 hours because they have, they put 15 minutes between races and maybe they go over a couple extra minutes, but nothing, it's not a day breaker. Whereas like Saratoga or like a day like today, you have 14 race card. The beginning races you started with you had like 17 minutes between races the beginning of the day, and now all of a sudden we're at like 30 minutes. And it's that's where and I get they have to stick to the TV schedules and stuff, but I think that's more of the problem is the post drag rather than even on Travers Day you'll see it where the first 4 races are done within an hour and a half, and then the rest of the card it's okay, well now you have an hour between this race and that race, and it's I get TV schedules, but there's a way that you can schedule 14 races and not make it an 8-hour day.
They are.
So that's my thought on it.
They are heading into the gate for race 13. I'm just going to step away for 1 second. Actually, turn a light bulb on in this room because I am getting pretty dark on the stream.
All right, they're off. Yep, the 11 just crossed. Oh, there's definitely going to be an inquiry after this race. There's going to be an inquiry. There's going to be an inquiry to the start after this race.
Holy Jesus! He cut off half.
He cut off half the field there. There's definitely going to be an inquiry after this race, especially I'm going to guess Santana on Silver Prospector because he looked like he took the worst of it. Nadal sitting second, King Guillermo sitting third, Wells Bayou right out in the lead. New strategy for Nadal sitting off the pace though, but his works say that he shouldn't have an issue here.
Is it interesting too that in all of our talking we kind of forgot about Storm the Court, 14-1, and right up in that area where we've been seeing horses win all day. 46.
Yeah, I said if you're playing tries and supers, don't throw him out. I don't think he'll have a kick enough to beat either of the top two right now. I think the top two are away from the four and the three. He's sitting third right now. I think he's all in though. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's moving a little bit, but I don't think he's going anywhere. Farmington Road is picking up a lot of ground from the back of the pack though.
Yeah, he is.
He's coming, but Nadal just inherited the lead. It looks like Farmington Road looks like he's just going to be too little too late here. I think Nadal might be gone here.
They are coming, and they are coming pretty fast.
Get up here with Farmington Road. Now Nadal's got it. I'll take Nadal getting it. Farmington Road's gonna settle for fourth. Whatever. I'll take it. I'll take the fourth from him.
Seemed to just lose the kick late in the lane, though. I mean, that was pretty much, and that's what we talk about. The horse did inherit the lead, but I mean, when you look at the value of the race, the horse did go off at 4.
King Guillermo came second.
Yeah, King Guillermo came second. I mean, that shows that Tampa Bay Derby wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke.
Tampa Bay Derby was a strong field too.
I don't feel that
Finnick the Fierce ended up getting up for third, and Farmington Road finishes fourth. Not.
I think so.
Yeah,
Farmington Road got fourth.
Yeah, Farmington Road got fourth. Finnick. We talked about Finnick the Fierce being an underneath horse, but I think that. How did that final time? 1:40. I mean, I think that time was quicker. He ran quicker than Charlatan did. And there was more pace in the race, but he did run.
He was under wraps the last 16.
Yeah. Baffert again. Another year. Baffert's got two monsters. 23, 46, 109. I mean, yeah, he did inherit the lead, but I mean, Wells by you.
Vinny, if you had to choose Nadal or Charlatan, where are you going?
I'm going Charlatan.
Absolutely, right? You have to.
I'm going Charlatan, but I mean, I have not. My whole thing with Nadal is that I thought he was the horse. I thought people jumped on him too early as Baffert's number one. But I mean, again today, horse did nothing wrong. That was a very impressive win. I mean, he sat second. He put away he pressed the pace. The 11 finishes nowhere near the money. King Guillermo sat third on the inside. He finishes second. And then two horses come from the back of the pack. So I don't think it was. I mean, there's nothing to knock about him. I think if you're picking the two, those are the two. It'll be interesting to see. If Drayden ends up getting Charlatan back after today, but.
Well, Rosario is locked down on Nadal.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, he's definitely locked down on Nadal.
If that's who he wants.
I am going to hope this last race that's going to go off at 8:14. That's in 16 minutes. I seriously doubt that is about to happen. I'm hoping this is not going to be a 25-minute post drag for this.
I'm hoping these payouts actually look all right for the pick five.
What do you have going? You got just the 5 and
I have all. I have all in the last leg. Yep, I went 2 by 1 by 2 by 2 by all on my ticket.
My friend,
good for you, bro.
He reposed it.
I loved by my. I almost singled by my standards, but I knew I was going to kick myself if Tacitus beat me, and that's the only reason I went 2 in that race. I pounded by my standards. Like that
Vinny, can we finally get you off Tacitus? Can
Yeah.
you finally give it up?
It's like my thing with Dylan Davis. Can we have to
These prices are not phenomenal. So I mean they're not great, but I mean again my ticket did not cost much. So
our friend Vinny Bobby has the pick 5 3 times if he gets it with a 5 here. So I'm hoping the 5 wins for both of you. I'm hoping the 5 gets you some money as well.
yeah, I mean the
You know,
the 5 does not pay at the 5 is definitely the lowest shot here. If I'm being honest, I'm rooting for the 6.
fair enough.
So I gotta see what the because I only have the $2 payout, so I gotta divide all this shit by 4.
Well, I'm alive in the double with the 5, 9, and 13.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy too. Jessica Tugwell from the Daily Gallop also just tweeted out Nadal paying $320 to show is the gift of the day.
Yeah.
It showed though again that I mean that shows that the big show bettors were not sold on Nadal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking through here real quickly. And it's funny you said objection. There was no objection. There was nothing on.
Yeah, well, I think neither of the, I think the thing is I think Silver Prospector on the final run finished in Wells Bayou, if I'm not mistaken, late. Because I think Wells Bayou faded very badly there. I'd have to rewatch it, but if he finished in front, there would be no point in an objection because all they would do is put him behind him. So there was no.
Totally agree. What are your guys' thoughts on this live stream? We've done it for 2 weeks. Obviously, Vinny, you've been here with both of us. What is maybe someone like Eddie, something that you think we could improve on for this live stream coming up if we keep going every week?
Wow. I haven't thought about that too much, but I would, speaking top of mind, I'd think maybe we could talk a little bit more about tickets, about how we're playing races, be it daily doubles, verticals, horizontals, whatever it might be.
That's definitely something that we have been, like Gorgonzola was saying. He says that when the pick 5 starts, we shouldn't be going over the horse, so we should just be going over the pick 5 tickets. I said I understand that, but also it's hard when this is more of a beginner show. I don't want to start hoping that people are playing pick 5 tickets when it's their second day out at the races as well. But I do agree with what you're saying.
Well, then the only other thing I would say is, like the way I handicap is totally different than the way Vinny handicaps. It's totally different than the way you handicap. So maybe let people talk about the way they handicap, how they do it, why they do it. And it could give people some ideas, some options, and whatnot.
Vinny, you've done this for 2 weeks. You've been doing stuff like this with me for a while. Something you would like to see added in the next couple weeks?
I like it. I agree. I think we do need to do a little more ticket structure. Or just rather than going over every horse in the race and saying pass. Like I know like we do have a lot of things to say on every horse, and it definitely is a good time filler. But I think you're focusing more on why you landed on why a horse was the favorite rather than why I landed on this horse over this horse, and talking more about that horse rather than having to go from horse to horse would be beneficial to people too.
I know we're also trying to make this pretty
right.
With the chat and stuff like that. So maybe what we'll do going forward, I'll talk with Marshall about it. Maybe we'll just try and get a list of your guys' top picks, contenders. We'll talk about them. We'll see if the chat has anybody we want to talk about, and then we can easily move on to the wagering stuff. Does anybody have a MTP for this next race? I do not see one right now.
21 minutes.
21 minutes it is.
21 minutes. These payouts are not terrible. They're not great. The 2 and the 5 don't pay much at all for the pick 5.
You got all, Vinny?
Yeah.
what does the 9 pay for you?
Let's see here. Yeah. So the lowest payout is 144.10 for either the 2 or the 5. The 9 actually would not be a bad price. I still think I'd make a bit on that. Yeah, the 9 is almost 1,000 for me. It would be 964.55 for the 50 cent.
So it, looks,
I give the 9 a shot here.
it looked like it was like 1,500 was your top, 150 is like your bottom. So not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, some of them. I mean, if the 3 or the 6 win, it's a couple thousand. It's definitely a couple thousand. But
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I have the 1 is actually my top pick in here, so that doesn't pay as much as I was hoping. But I did think going into today, I did think this was going to be a little chalky. Yeah, 305.90 for if the 1 wins.
The 1 is your top pick. Well, good luck to you.
I like the 1. I like the 1 last time out too, so I kind of stuck with them.
Let's talk real quick, Vinny. How much was the ticket, by the way? I know it was 2 by 1 by 2 with all, but my math skills are not as good as JK in the money show.
Yeah. Let me pull it up really quick on my because I have the race open here. Let me pull it up here because I do not know. And let's see. I hate loading times. I have like 8 things open right now because I was also trying to keep track of our thing. It was $56 ticket.
Okay, so I mean, you're at least 3xing. So I mean,
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
Right. I mean, I really like By My Standards, and that's one of those cases where I let my fan for a horse, like Tacitus, get to me. Because in reality, I could have had 2 singles in the sequence. It would have been a $28 ticket, and that would have been better. But again, like you said, I'm at least making money. I'm ending up in the green. I'm very happy about that. So, but yeah, I was keeping track of our. I've been doing the head-to-heads throughout this whole thing as well.
I'm stunned that you have because I just texted Steven and I was like, I think after the I said after the pot will probably be the best time.
Yeah, no, I've actually been keeping up on it. I'm working on the 13th race right now. Dennis is having a spectacular day. If the 13 is the 13's still in this race. If the 13 wins, Dennis is going to break $200 for the day.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah,
I'm alive with 5, 9, and 13 in doubles. So
yeah, you are currently you're winning. You are winning, Eddie, but your lead is definitely. Oh, actually, I think Nope, never mind. You won.
I can't lose because
Yes, you can't. Yeah, you can't lose, and there's no way Nadal paid enough to catch him up. But he came. Tom Stoner came back late against you.
Yeah.
But
what did I win? Like I had $80 or something like that.
I think at the moment you're about 70 at the moment. I don't think you can win, Spencer, unfortunately, in the head-to-head this week.
Not a problem. Just happy enough to be on here hosting with you wonderful people. Let's talk about this last race real quick. Eddie, your thoughts on the 1 Dangerfield?
I know Vinny likes this horse, and I could see this horse sitting right behind the speed rating, and having making a punch turning for home. I like his workouts. I give him a chance. I really do. From his last race, I think he can improve right off that. Yeah, he's right there.
Vinny, obviously the 1 was your top pick, alive for a nice little score. Not a score, but you'll be winning with your pick 5. Thoughts?
I really like him. I just thought his running style fits how this track has been running the last few weeks. His last race, he got there. Yes, it was a 1250 claimer. But this race isn't much of a is not, in my opinion, not much of a step up. But this horse always seems to be coming late. He keeps going. So I know he's an into mischief horse, so a mile and three quarters is kind of seems like it's a little much. But against this class level, he's a horse that he just seems like he wants to keep running. So I took a shot with him on top. I figured he would be decent value. But again, he is my top pick. But this is why I used all of my multis, because I like the into mischief horse as my top pick, going a mile and three quarters. So
Yeah.
I was kind of like, let's find others too.
Talk about the number 3, Stuart Hall. Vinny, currently 44-1 on the board. Nice long shot.
Yeah, he's a nice long shot. He's adding blinkers. That could improve him. Not sure what happened in that last race there, and he was getting he got claimed off. As Musin. So he definitely has been in some big barns. I don't know a lot about Timothy Martin, to be honest. But I mean, this horse has gone from Dallas Stewart, Jason Barkley, Eddie Keneally, Steve Asmussen, and now Timothy Martin. So I mean, it's not like he's been getting claimed in the past by lower end trainers. Like, those are all, for the most part, pretty well known trainers, especially Stewart, Keneally, and Asmussen. So it wouldn't surprise me. Big price again. The last race does concern me, though, that he kind of he stopped and jogged.
Eddie, the number 3, Stuart Hall.
Nice workout right after the claim, but I'm not going to talk too much about this horse. I hate what happened in the last race. I think he's class-wise, he's nowhere near these other horses. That's all I got to say about this horse.
The number 4, Magic Vow, Eddie, definitely a little bit lower on the odds spectrum from 44 to 16. The horse was a 5-1 morning line. What are your thoughts?
This horse is bred to run forever. So I can understand people betting this horse. I think this horse wants to keep running. His last race was pretty good. He lost, look, I think the 5 horse is a horse to beat. He came third to the 5 horse. I think he hits the board. I think he comes second or third, but I don't see him beating my top 2 choices, which are the 5 and the 9.
Any thoughts on the 4?
I like the 4 a little bit here. Again, I like Eddie just said, not really much to add here. I think he's solid, and he could win if things go right. But I really think he's kind of like a middle of the pack horse here. But we'll see.
Thoughts on the 5, Vinny?
He's my second choice. I know a lot of people like this horse on top. He's been running first or second in his last 5 starts. Has been running against similar company. He looks very good. So 7% jockey kind of. I know we won on him last time. That one was a little concerning to me. Also, I know Eddie was talking about this earlier. He hasn't had a workout since 2 races back. So his last published work was on March 22nd, and he's running 2 races since. And he came in second by a head in 1, but would like to see at least like a little tune-up work for me at least. But that's why I put him second. But I think he is a legit contender here.
A question for you, Eddie. When you see certain barns implement bugs and they win with them or run very well, how much of a positive is that? Like, now that you see that he's won with Roberts, would it be more of an upgrade for you when you see Broberg use this type of jockey?
Well, it's you asked the perfect question, because it's the reason I put him on top. When you're getting 4, 5, 6 pounds over the field, going a mile and 3/16, whatever it may be,
Mile and 3/4.
A mile and 3/4. That's a huge advantage. And plus the bug's pretty good. So and I like Carl Broberg quite a bit. Yeah, when you're getting 3, 4, 5 pounds from everybody else going that distance, that means a lot. And this horse is number wise, he fits, or he's the best here. So I like him quite a bit, and he's my top pick.
For me, when I like to see with bugs, remember obviously we talked about when Irad was a bug with Curatolo. Curatolo seemed to be killing him, and then everyone lost their bugs, and Curatolo went to Monmouth. He got injured a couple times, and Irad's become what he's become. Certain barns that can implement bugs properly is the reason that you'll get the value. Now, obviously, there's not much value here at 9 to 5, but that is kind of where I feel do the extra research when you're looking at jockeys and trainers. If certain bugs you see are only working well with, Diodoro or even some people that aren't even in the top 10, that will matter for when they actually get their live mounts. The number 6, a whole lot of luck, Corey Lanerie in the saddle. Vinny, what are your thoughts?
I wasn't huge on him. I do like Corey Lanerie riding, but I think this one was a little outclassed here. Did close all right in his last race, but I think he's outmatched.
Eddie, your thoughts?
I think he's outmatched, but I will say this: I think the horse is bred to run the distance, and I am using him underneath in exotics because I think he can get a piece of the pie. You can see that he closes historically and breeding wise, being out of Broad Brush and Smart Strike. This horse is bred to run all day, so I don't think it wins, but I'm definitely using him in exotics.
Thoughts on 7 Wicked Way, Vinny?
I'm not too big of a fan here. Looks okay. I mean, the 78. I think the 78 buyer is kind of inflated from last time out. I know he'd run some mid 70s in the past, but I think the numbers wise on this horse, it seems to be a little weird that he goes from. He's got his last 6 races. He's got 4 70s and a couple 40s. So, in my opinion, I feel like this horse has really been running in the 60s all along, and some of these races are just getting elevated for some reason. So, I don't like him, but that's my opinion on him.
When you see the 730 lifetime starts, they're not going to improve much more off that. And the last race out was a 78. That is the new buyer top for him. Eddie, I don't see much improvement in this horse. Do you?
No. I agree with Vinny on this. I agree with you on this. This horse being out of Malibu Moon and Tocket, this horse wants nothing to do with this distance. If he comes in the top 5, I'll be shocked.
Number 8, Ghostly Who, Diodoro, David Cohen for the last race. Does Diodoro get it done here, Eddie?
This is an interesting horse. I don't think he's near the class of most of this field, but I think if he can get out to the lead and on an easy lead, he could lope along for quite a while and stick around. I don't know that I don't believe he's going to win, but I give him a shot to hit the board for sure. He's proven it. Let him be around the lead. He wants to be there, and he finishes. So I'm okay with him.
Vinny, thoughts on the 8?
I'd have to look in the conditions for this race. I don't. Do either you know why he's carrying 100? This one's carrying 126 pounds. He's the high weight here, I'm looking.
He's 5 years old. That's why.
He's 5 years old. That's why he's 126.
I believe so.
Because I feel like there's other older horses in here than.
Yeah, but non-winners of a race since March 2nd are allowed 2 pounds, allowed 4 pounds. So some horses haven't won in a while, so that's why they're getting the weight allowance, even though they're 126.
Okay, that's okay. So I'd have to. Like I said, I'd have to look at it. I think he's interesting. I don't for value. I don't know what his current odds are at. He was morning line 12 to 1.
2 to 1 right now.
He's what?
22.
20 to 1. That's pretty good value on him. I would, if you like him, I would play him at that for sure. I think I would have played him. I think the 12 to 1 was good value on him. I think there's others who are faster in here though, but he's one, like Eddie said, he can just kind of, if he can just kind of get out good and just sit there, he can stick around late. So
Yeah.
he's got his pedigree is to run all day. So he can get out and just stick around. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, it's always nice, right, Eddie, when you have all for the pick 5, and you can just kind of sit back, kick back, relax. The number
Yeah.
9 charged tomorrow. What are your thoughts on this one, Eddie?
On the 9?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, this is my second choice in this race, and this horse is bred to run forever.
Mhm.
Out of an AP Indy sire, out of Medaglia de Oro Dam. This horse, how you don't use this horse in exotics and maybe even on top, that's the way I'm using this horse. This horse is going to run along, and make a move around the final turn. I love this horse. There's not a ton of speed here, but if there's not a ton of speed, this horse can run a little bit closer to the lead. I really, really like this horse to finish first, second, or third.
I will give you a little upgrade there too, Eddie. De La Cruz is a 12% overall jock. He is 15% in routes. He is under 10% sprints, so he definitely likes to take the horse with a route of ground. Vinny, your thoughts on the 9, currently 18 to 1.
I value wise, I think he's good. He's another one. He's kind of like the 8, where I think he's just gonna be there, and like if things happen to go his way in the stretch, I think he can win. I know Timeform he has a good late pace figure, but like just looking at some of it, like I haven't gone back and watched all of his races. I watched the last one though. It seems like he's more of one pace than having a late kick. So I don't know how much ground he's really going to make up, but like Eddie said, he's got a pedigree to run all day. So that might be good. That against a field like this, that might be good enough just to be one paced and just outlast everybody else.
The back half of this field, the 10, 11, 12, and 13 are all 10 plus to 1. Is there anyone specific that you want to talk about, Eddie?
The only one I would want to talk about is the 13, strictly because Curlin out of Deputy Minister pedigree. Again, I know being out of Malibu Moon on the dam side, maybe not the distance that you'd like, but Curlin has always been late developing sire, and if there was a horse that could upset this field, I think it's this horse. He's got the right running style for the distance, and he's arguably got the best jockey at Oaklawn going right now. And say what you want about Joe Sharp, I like the guy. I like him as a trainer, and I can't believe I didn't use him in our head-to-head challenge picks now that he's in. So I'm hoping he comes second or third in one sense, but I'm betting him as a winner.
Vinny, any thoughts on the 10, 11, 12, or 13?
I actually really like 13 as well. He is one of the 4 horses I have ending a pick 3 as well. Started 2 in the Oaklawn handicap. So I agree with Eddie on the 13. I can't believe this horse is double-digit odds.
Eddie, thoughts on the 14, and then how you're going to finish up your day here at Oaklawn?
Okay, well, I'm alive with the 5, 9, and 13 in late doubles, and I did not use the 14. I'm kind of scared about this 14 horse. He's a steady horse. He's hit the board. What is it? 12, 16 out of more, almost 60% of the time, especially lately. He's done well. Probably may have the best running style in this race because he's going to run near the lead or on the lead. So he scares me a little bit, so I'm going to do a little saver exacta using the 14 top and bottom with the 5, 9, and 13.
Vinny, thoughts on the 14, and then how you are finishing the day. We know you have the all for the pick 5.
Yeah, I like the 14. He is the other horse in my at the end my pick 3. So honestly, I'm hoping for I am hoping for either the 1, the 5, the 13 or 14 so I can cash both my pick 5 and my pick 3. But yeah, I'm letting what I have ride, and I'm going to take my money and just wait for the result here.
For me, just a couple interesting horses. I thought the De La Cruz runner, number 9, just being such a monster price of 18-1 off the 10-1 morning line. With these average, I call them average, but I always have said like 14 to 10% for me as an average jock. Eddie, when you can find what they're better at and what they're worse at, do you feel like that just instantly can improve your ROI when looking at certain jockeys?
Yes, to a degree, I do. I'm again. I think I've told you guys this. I'm much more of a breeding handicapper. I go to breeding first, but when I see jockey trainer combinations, especially first time, second time out, how well they do, yeah, you got to look at that angle 100%. In this respect, based on what you asked me about, it's one of the reasons I went with the 9. Just so you know, the other reason I went with the 9 is because it is a deputy ministered lineage horse. So I always go that way. So, but no, valid point on your part, and yes, I do that.
With being within breeding, you always hear like nobody really ever gives you a number on what a good horse is first time out as a sire. For me, I've always kind of used the number as 15 is pretty dang solid, 20% is above average. Do you have a specific number that you can upgrade a horse due to breeding, and a number that's too low that be a negative?
Well, I mean, let's talk currently. If you have a Curlin horses you can look at, they're late developing horses. So you got to look a little bit later, 3-year-old, maybe even early 4-year-old with them. Look at American Pharoah. American Pharoah on turf, especially, he's killing it. They're winning at astronomical rates, kind of like Frankel horses are winning in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at the percentage numbers. I just look at when I see breeding. I immediately will start looking at historically how the sire did when they ran.
Vinny, do you have a certain type of speciality that you really look to when you are handicapping? Obviously, we have Eddie with the breeding, Benny obviously with the trip handicapping. Do you have a speciality that you like to look forward to when you first start handicapping a card?
I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good at picking out patterns. I know a lot of people use other tools like thoroughgraphs and stuff like that, like thorough sheets and like pace projectors. I feel like I'm pretty good at picking out just patterns based on how horses have run previously. Like for today's card, I only used the DRF PPs, and that was it. And I watched replays. I like seeing patterns rather than the overall buyer number. I know if it's higher, obviously, like a horse like Charlatan, where he's run a couple triple digit buyers and nobody's run near him. Like it's kind of in the field, it's kind of hard not to be like, all right, well, this 100 buyer is going to win the race.
Mm-hmm.
But like for a race like for example, just this last race here, I like the one horse. His last 3 races, he ran a 77, then he ran a 73, and then he ran an 81. The 73 was in the slop. So I'm going to draw a line through that. So his last 3 dry track races, he's gone from a 71 to a 77 to an 81. Whereas the 5 had like the 5 last time out, like he's the favorite. His last time out, he ran an 80. He ran an 83. If the 1 takes a step forward here, like he's right on par. He's right on par with the top
Right.
buyer in the field. So that's kind of how I do my handicapping is I look for patterns using past races, and that's why I watch a lot of replays because obviously like there's factors that go in like for example like earlier why I liked Fearless earlier in that allowance race even though he finished second. He was coming out of a tough race. The figure came back all right, but he had a lot of trouble, and he had a lot of trouble that just reading the trip notes you're not going to see. So I thought he was going to get a better trip today. He didn't. He finished second. But same thing with By My Standard, who I absolutely love today. The number for that race didn't come back very strong, but on the eye test, I thought it looked fantastic. So that's where I don't always pay attention to that, like what the overall number is. I just like seeing an upward trend.
Hey,
Quick.
Sterling, and not to interrupt, but what Vinny was just saying, listen, watching replays is so critical. It gives you everything. If you have all the information that you need, and I'm like Vinny, I only look at daily racing form, and then I'll watch replays and workouts. But watching replays is what, the comment line in daily racing form, time form, thorograph, whatever you're looking at, doesn't tell you what the race actually tells you.
And I have the same feeling about workouts. I mean, obviously, like we talked about, like Nadal's workout and Charlaton's workout earlier has looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
But at least there's tools now where you can watch them. Like there's a couple of Twitter accounts that was Express TV or whatever that one is that
BT.
posts yeah
XBTV,
yeah they post a lot of the workouts so you can watch them yourself.
that's where I
It's
watch them.
Yeah, it's very hard. At least it used to be. It used to be very hard to really watch those workouts unless you were getting up in the morning or had a way to. But also the times, because I mean, there's time, especially these lower the stakes horses. Usually the times are pretty on, but some of these lower horses, for this race, these horses are working at the same time that you have 30 other horses on the track, and they're all running at the same time. The clockers really are not they're good, but they're not really paying attention to see if for example Dangerfield's last work on 427, if it was really a 49 and 4, if it was a 50.2. And to some people those workouts that's what they base their picks on, or how good horses work out.
Vinny, that's a huge point because I used to go to Saratoga. I mean, I'd go there every morning to watch the horses work, and it's when I first started doing it, I'm like, who's that horse? Who's that horse? Who's that horse? And unless you know somebody, you don't know what horse is working, and you don't know what their time is unless you're part of the Clocker's Corner or you're part of the the trainer, the groom or something like that. And once you get to know those people, that's when you get to. I mean, I've learned so much in the last year and a half, 2 years, because of you guys. Real Dynasty, Daily Gallop, being a part of you guys, and then also learning some of the Clocker's Corners people. It's invaluable information.
Quick shout out for people who don't know, we do have a Slack for the Daily Gallop. There's about, I think, every single person alive in the Slack to the 5 here, including Marshall, for some nice tickets. I don't want to say what they are out loud on stream because I don't know if he would be okay with that. But getting this 5 home for Bobby, Marshall, obviously, even I know it's not the best price, but
I'll take it. But yeah, in the head to head, I would say 7. Just doing a quick look, I'd say 80% of the 20 people in the head to head have the 5 as their top pick in this race. Somebody has the 9. I think one person has the 9. One person has the 1. One person has the 4. Two people
This-
have the 4, 2 people have the 1, and 1 person has the 9. So what? 15 out of 20 people have the 14 out of 20 people. Dennis has the 13, who's been red hot today.
I
So
just wanted to give a quick shout out as well. Obviously, with the way the tracks have been going, we have not been putting much up on the Daily Gallop. Churchill Downs is opening. Apparently, Santa Anita is going to be opening soon. This is going to change. We're going to get right back on the horse with some pretty much daily write-ups. We're hoping to do a couple live streams. We might even have people specifically doing some stuff on Twitter video where people can ask questions about certain cards. Thank you to everybody who has been watching today. Thank you again to my special guest on the podcast today, Vinny, Eddie, Benny, Marshall hosting the first couple of hours, and Sean Alvarez, and a special Hunter Uwilling sighting for the first couple of races. Thanks so much for making this happen. I love talking racing as much as we can do during this pandemic. I believe they're all in the gate and they're off in the finale here at Oaklawn Park. Seems like the 8 and the 5 are going out to the lead as well.
Hey,
Yep.
Spencer, I appreciate you letting me be a part of this. Oh, look, Marshall. There's a Marshall sighting.
Marshall, right?
Your 9 sitting good, Eddie. Sitting right off the
Come on,
he's
baby.
sitting right off the 8. 14
Come on,
is
baby.
there.
I
I
don't
would
know what
be
you guys are talking about.
I'm just hoping for a bomb to come in here, Marshall. I know a lot of us are alive to the 5.
want
but-
Yeah, let's
5,
go with
9,
this
or
5.
13.
Let's get this 5.
5, 9, or 13.
Let's go with
Come
this
on,
5.
buddy. This 9 looks loaded.
9 looks real good, Eddie. The 14 sitting great. The 4 sitting good.
Do they still
The
got one
one-
more time around?
I believe so. I think they have.
I just got really confused too.
Yeah, they have a mile. Yeah, they have a mile and a quarter.
about to be.
They still got one more time around,
Go,
guys.
go. Yeah, no, they have a-
Marshall comes. Thank God for Marshall because I
Yeah.
was going to get
half
Voice of
mile.
reason.
I was going to start yelling coming down the stretch. Right
Yeah.
now.
Why are they
Nah.
not? Why are they not even moving?
Yeah, no, half mile and 53. This is very, very slow.
I
Are
mean,
we watching standard breads here?
I think I might be watching harness. This is
Ooh.
I don't
These
know.
are s-
Look, hey,
They're-
3/4 and
the
1.
The 9 is taking the lead. Let's let the race run out.
3
mean-
quarters and basically 120, 119.93. Like
Five,
this is
I mean, 5
all-
is sitting just.
yeah.
chilly here.
The one might not have any room. He's been sitting on the rail the whole time, and he's not moving. Like he doesn't have room.
can we just talk here real quick? We're talking about $10,000 starting allowance horses, guys. This is not like the normal, grade 2 at the end of the Belmont
Yep.
car.
Hey, Spencer.
Yes,
when
sir.
When I get back up to Saratoga,
Yes,
just
sir.
so you know, we can live stream this on Saratoga. I'm gonna beat Vinny in a game of horse.
Oh my goodness
Oh,
gracious!
okay. Let's.
I'm like the midget Pete Maravich.
Okay. Well, we'll see if you can beat me in a game. We'll see if you can beat me in a game of horse.
I don't know where the 5 Marshall, but this is
5 drop back. The 1 is sitting nice, but I don't think he's got. I don't think he's got a closing kick to pass these horses. I think these.
The 1 looks loaded, Vinny.
He does, but I don't think he doesn't. He's not a horse who has a closing kick. The 13 is
Can we
moving.
get this 9 or 13 home?
13 is
Up With
moving.
this Broberg. Up with this Broberg.
Give me 9-13.
Ooh.
Keep
Oh,
this
come
one
on with
out of
this-
it.
This 1 is moving still. Come on
Yeah.
with this 1. Give me another
Give
top
me
pick.
9,
Yeah.
13, 9. 13,
Oh,
9.
14's
The
okay.
14. The 9's gonna
13,
take this.
9.
Mine's
The
good.
9
Keep
took it.
this one out.
Oh.
The 9 took it.
9-13. Give me this.
Oh.
9-13. Give me this.
I was alive to the 14.
Yes.
Ah.
9-14, 1-13. Not a bad.
When you have 4 people in the chat and you hear, you definitely know who has lost that race. Nice way to end the day for certain people.
Five.
Marshall, sorry about the 5.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Danny,
nothing.
that was a nice big 5 for you, wasn't it?
Yep.
I had the
Almost
double.
9. Yep. 900,
double,
900,
the double, the
963.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We're going to
Boom.
get this. I've been doing this since 1 o'clock. I got to
Yeah.
go eat dinner before
Me
the
too.
kills me.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
All right, guys.
Maybe Vinny
Everybody-
will buy me a
Talk
beer
to you later.
next time Saratoga.
Appreciate
I'll talk to you
everybody.
guys later.
You got it, Vinny. Good job with that pick 5. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
everybody. Like we said, Marshall, I think you are good to cut the stream. Thank you all for watching.